This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. This episode of The Glassblower's Companion is brought to you by the Glass Vegas Expo. Glass Vegas brings together some of the greatest glass artists and industry vendors all under the same roof with a respectable and heartwarming vibe unlike any other functional glass art show out there. With opportunities for artists to sign up for educational seminars, glass competitions, and trades, offering more time to mingle and to share the love of a common interest. Stay tuned to their website, glass.vegas, and follow them on Instagram at Glass Vegas Expo. That's at Glass Vegas Expo, all one word. This episode is also brought to you by the Orlando Glass Union. Whether you're a traveling artist or love to take classes, the Orlando Glass Union offers a clean, comfortable space with benches to rent and space for classes, which are generally offered on a monthly basis. For more information on available space, classes to sign up for, and much more, go to orlandoglassunion.com. That's orlandoglassunion.com. Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Glassblower's Companion, episode number 29. This is your host, Jason Michael. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's guest is featuring Aaron Brown. He's out of Buffalo, New York. A glass artist, been doing this for about 16 plus years. And I had the chance to run into him at Glass Vegas, where he was in the audience for the Glass of 2022 Scott Deppie little seminar that myself and Mike Shelbo hosted together. And he reached out, and now he's got him on the show, and I hope you enjoy his interview. He's definitely got a fun journey and discovery as a glass artist, and you can definitely hear the passion and love he has for the material and the medium as a glass blower itself. Had a lot of fun talking and picking his brain, and just overall, it's a great dude. I was happy to have him on, and hope you do enjoy this conversation. You can find Aaron out there on Instagram under Aaron B. Glass, and also you can check out his new website he just recently launched that he officially announced today. That is aaronbglass.com, and I'll have all those links in the show notes for you. If you're interested in checking out his work or even purchasing some for your collection, definitely do that. Definitely, again, hope you enjoyed this talk with him. I'm finally ready to get back on the groove with recordings and episodes and what have you. Came back from Vegas with COVID like a lot of people did. And him and I definitely talk. We do a mild recap on Glass Vegas, mainly from his perspective. I give some talk about me as well. But I do have a full recap episode that I'm going to be posting up next week. Just talking about my preparation and getting ready for the show, especially someone that has a full-time job. And, whether it was me as a glass blower full-time over at the Mouse House or delivering pizzas for Domino's, whatever. Doing trade shows is something that is beneficial for anybody at any skill level and any amount of time that you have as well to dedicate to it. I was able to take a week basically and crank out as much as I could to bring what I brought for sale. And again, I'm going to do a full recap, so I don't want to get into too much of it. But again, Aaron and I do talk about the experience we had. It was a great chat, a lot of fun. Vegas was an amazing opportunity for myself. It was my first time going to a trade show. And I've just got to give a big shout out to Amy Short and the crew at Glass Vegas for this year's show. Even though it's my first time going, I know in the past I've heard many, many stories of how much people love and artists and guests and vendors and buyers love this trade show. And again, this was another successful year. Did a weird overlap from last year because of COVID last year. It got pushed to May. I know a lot of artists, if not everybody, sold out last year because 2021's Glass Vegas was just a complete free-for-all and frenzy of buying, where this year was a little bit more subdued. And again, with the overlapping of things happening, which Aaron and I talk about, may have caused some conflicts for some people and artists that did and did not get sales. Myself personally had a pretty successful show as well. But the main thing that I took away from it was just being a part of the community and feeling so welcomed and loved. And again, having this opportunity to do this talk with Scott Deppie, myself and Mike Shelbo co-hosted an event where, for the first time ever, Scott Deppie came out and talked about his career and his coming into the world of glass and growing up in the world of glass as a human, same as myself. Having done this now for 22 years, at 45 years old, I started this at 23, and I more or less have grown up as a human being, as well as a glass artist, coinciding with each other. And the lessons I've learned from the glass and from life that I've been able to kind of go back and forth with and also share with you over the last 6 years of doing this podcast. So, again, I hope you guys enjoy what Aaron and I talk about. If you haven't checked out the video yet, Torch Talk put up their camera shot video of the talk with Scott Deppie and myself and Shelbo. But the Mothership crew was also there and took video and had us all mic'd up, and the audio from those videos that the Mothership crew has, they're getting Mike's video work from his perspective, and they're going to put them all together, put it all together and edit it, which I wanted to do myself, but I want to do everything, and I don't have all the time in the world to do everything. So fortunately, the crew over at Mothership, one of the reasons that Deppie has been successful within the company is because of the team that he's put around himself. And something that a lot of us can take away from is just how important our little circle of help that we have is, because we know as artists and as business owners, we wear a lot of hats, and if we can have a couple people that are supportive in our circle that you can outsource certain things to, graphics, whatever, it's very helpful and beneficial not only to yourself but to them as well, because you're not only are passing on some of the earnings and the income to other people, but also giving them a chance to help you, which I'm sure for those that are helping you or feel good about that as well. It's just something to think about. See what else. So, but those that are listening, if you're listening to this and if you are listening to this and went to Las Vegas and came home with COVID, I hope you are resting up and are better now. Excuse me. I'm sure you can probably hear a little bit of congestion that I still have. I finally tested negative Monday, I believe it was, and just got back to work finally yesterday for the first time. I hadn't melted glass for almost 2 weeks. It was a nice break, but after the week that I had in Vegas, I was ready to get back on the torch, and then getting sick was just forced vacation in a sense. So my wife and I took advantage of the time off because we both were sick from going, and we were healthy enough to be able to get out of the house and go to local disc golf parks and get out and throw some discs around. Some days we only played 9 holes. Some days we played 36 holes, just depending on how we were feeling. And I really think that was one thing that helped us get better or feel better, instead of just sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves or watching TV and whatever. We got out of the house, and my doctor called in a mild steroid for us to take to help knock out some of the symptoms we were dealing with. Probably the worst thing I had was a sore throat. But I will say, I've heard of some people that have gotten different variations of this COVID, talking about the long-term COVID stuff. And for myself personally, I'm getting better, but I definitely feel like I have a slight little bit of brain fog going on, which has been kind of strange. I compare it to like old school televisions that we had back in like the 80s with the dot and the knob dials on the TVs, and they had a little fine-tuning kind of gimmick that was on there to help you really tune in your station. And I feel like I might need one of those on the side of my head to help tune in my brain. It took me a couple days of just trying to figure out how to put sentences together. It was really strange. But that being said, I'm doing a lot better now, and getting to work yesterday and getting to be in front of people and talking and get my voice warmed up again helped with recording today. So here we are. But again, I had a blast. Vegas was an incredible time. It was also a very emotional time for myself in a positive way. We went and saw Cirque du Soleil right across from the Bally's over at the Bellagio. We saw the O show over there. And if you haven't seen that yet, next time you're in Vegas, I highly recommend it. It is Cirque du Soleil, for one, just puts on this incredible performance, and I've seen like 6 different shows so far. This one specifically is the best that I've seen, and when the curtain dropped and the show was over, I was a complete emotional mess in all the best ways possible. The last 6 months of the grind that I've been on, which I'm going to be talking about next week in the next episode, to then lead up to then prepare for Vegas and then get through Vegas and have a successful show and then have time to go play when it was all done. I just, like I said, the curtains dropped, and I just began to I bawled my eyes out for probably about 5 minutes. And I just felt very blessed and grateful for being where I was at that show, being in the Bellagio, seeing the Chihuly ceiling. I know a lot of people have different perspectives on Dale Chihuly, but myself personally, having worked in a permanent collection of his for several years and understanding the work and what goes into what he does, and then also having seen that ceiling from afar via books and videos, to actually finally be there in person was not only surreal, but it was, for me, the culmination of the last 22 years of all the work and dedication that I put into this craft and medium that we all work with and love, to finally be in a place where I felt like I made it, in a sense. It might kind of sound silly to those listening, but some might say like my gig I have over at Disney is having made it as an artist. In a sense, I feel that. But for myself personally, the biggest thing that I've had is this chip on my shoulder, which I talk about with Aaron for the last 10 years, just watching the industry grow, being a part of it, but also being a part of it from a distance through the show and through friends and my brother being in the industry, and seeing the amount of progress and the money that people were making. Money isn't everything, but it definitely helps in terms of like motivation and things. And I make a really good salary with what I do, but I also at times feel like I've got these handcuffs on, what I call my golden handcuffs, that takes away a lot of time that I want to dedicate to my glass, but also to the content that I want to produce for you. And because the education side of things is what I really do love the most. Again, part of my job at Disney that I enjoy and appreciate is that. But the responses that I got from pretty much everybody that I talked to was, and as I talked to them about this, was that they felt that I was blessed to be in a position that I'm in, to where I can have a full-time job where I work at, for one, being one of 15 people in the world that have this position that I have, and the opportunities that come across. But also to be able to also then go home and have my family time and also work on the torch if I want, or go play disc golf or what have you. So it really opened my eyes, and I guess humbling is a good term to put it, but really if anything else, it just reinforced that I'm in a really good place. And I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like I said, next episode, I have it all written down. It's easier to dictate, and my brain doesn't want to work right now. So I'm going to stop rambling about it, but just know that those that were there, if I met you at Las Vegas, thank you for that opportunity, for getting to meet you in person. So many people that I didn't get a chance to see because I was busy manning my booth, and I really wanted to walk around and see more people. But the time just didn't really allow that, because, again, I was more concerned about missing out on sales at the time. So there's always next year, as there is, and also, lifetimes to come, I guess, in a sense. But it was a great time had by all, I feel. There was definitely, I felt this year, which I talked to Amy Short about, for Las Vegas, was their growing pains year. Because last year was such a successful show, and with the overlapping of this year and the timing of it, with Champs being the week previous to it, there were some hurdles that were jumped over and had gotten in the way also. And again, growing pains, I think, too, was this year. And I think next year will probably be the best show yet. Maybe not in terms of how the sales were last year, because I think last year potentially will never happen again like it did. I hope it does, but potentially not, because this year was kind of a reflection on where things are, but also because of the overlap and blah, blah, blah. Like Aaron and I talk about in this episode. Might have been some causation for why some artists didn't have the sales that they were expecting. Then there were some other things that were happening that should not have happened, between the music being too loud, the nitrous going around. It's just some different things that could have been stopped, or not really stopped, but I guess since it happened, next year is known what to do. This was a good lesson this year for a lot of things. So again, I'm rambling. My brain's fried, and yeah. So that being said, I'm gonna let you go. Listen to this episode. Thank you again for tuning in and for all the support. If you could please like this episode, if you give it a thumbs up or whatever you can do on YouTube. This will be up. I did a video recording with Aaron. I'm not sure if it's actually going to go up or not. The quality wasn't 100% on my end as far as like my lighting and all that stuff, but It is what it is, so I'm probably just going to put it up anyways because I need to start getting more content, video content onto my YouTube. If you're not yet following me on YouTube, you can find me out there on YouTube at Wise Guy TV. Just go into the search and just type in WYZGUY TV. And I have every podcast episode I've ever recorded on there. They're all categorized into artist interviews, different processes, or different categories of different niches within this podcast. As you know, I do business talk. I brought in medical professionals, different things like that. So you can kind of see kind of how they're categorized on there. But also video lessons. I'm going to be starting a new series very soon that is called Sculpt Like an Animator. I teased a little video up on Instagram a couple weeks back, how to make a hand. And that's going to be the kind of content that I'm going to be pushing more on YouTube. And then the video work and the one-on-one coaching calls and talks and the newer videos that I'm going to be creating are going to be up on Patreon. If you want to help support this podcast, you can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. If you want to join the ranks of the community that we have and have access to myself for monthly coaching calls, but also to have access to the video content, it's $5 a month, which over a year is only $60. So for $60 a month, you can have access to the videos, and then for $10 a month, you'll have access to myself for monthly coaching calls. And with those coaching calls, we do one-on-one Zoom calls where I can watch you in the studio working on something, and I can help kind of steer you in a certain direction. Or you can also watch me in the studio, and I will then give you a lesson, and then you then jump on the torch, and we kind of go back and forth. There's different ways I've gone about doing this, and it's been very successful. All the new videos that are going into Patreon eventually will go on to YouTube for free, but exclusively the guys and gals in the YouTube community, in the Patreon community, have access to this first. And again, if you'd like to help support the show and join our growing community, you can go on to patreon.com/WiseGuyMedia. I have updated that link so it is current with the name of the show and or the name of the brand, in a sense, for the production and the stuff that we're creating through. And if you listen to the show on Spotify, go to the homepage for the Glassblower's Companion. Underneath the description, it'll have a rating on here. It says, no rating. Thanks for being one of the first listeners to rate this show. I'm going to give it 5 stars. All right. So if you hit that little clicky gimmick, you can just give it 5 stars if you feel the show deserves it, which I do appreciate it. And it does help get this show to the top of the rankings and exposes our community and what we do to the rest of the world. So those that are searching for something to listen to may stumble across this show and see what it is and may become the next big glassblower out there. Who knows? But it does definitely make a huge difference. And also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, again, you can leave a review and rate the show. Again, please do that. It helps to support this show. It's one way you can do that for free. And again, I do greatly appreciate you. And outside of that, if you have any questions or comments or anything like that, you can reach me on my Instagram. My personal Instagram is @jmichaelglass. And you can follow the one for the podcast. It is Glass Blower's Companion, all one word. And then if you want to see what's going on in my pipe world, which I'm getting ready to turn into my Instagram online shop, in a sense, not my website, but just like an Instagram store, I have my jmichael_functionals that you'll be able to see some of the pipes and things on there that I'll be offering. So thanks so much for everybody. Stay tuned also to my personal Instagram. I just hit 10,000 followers again after a couple of years of trying to regrow it after Instagram swept out all the fake accounts and bots and all the crap that was on there. Got back to like a legitimate number of followers, and now I'm back to 10,000, and I'm going to be offering a pretty cool thing for free for somebody to have an opportunity to share a few hours with me while I'm on the torch. So stay tuned to that. Again, you can follow me on Instagram @jmichaelglass. I'll have all these links and all the things I've referenced in the show notes for you to check out. And until next time, thanks so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode with Aaron Brown. You can follow him again on Instagram @AaronBGlass. And we'll talk to you soon. Love you so much. Take care and have a wise day. What's going on, Aaron? Welcome to the show.
How's it going, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Good to have you on, man. It's stoked to have you on. You reached out, and after talking with Shelbo, after the Scott Deppie Glass at 2022 from Glass Vegas thing, that was a lot of fun and an honor to get to talk with Deppie and everything, and it was pretty cool and a great experience, and I'm glad you were there too. And here we are now chatting to talk about some glass and your journey and everything. So
yeah, man.
If you want to get us started here by giving us your superhero origin story, and then we'll go from there.
So my story started in probably around, I'd have to say around 2003, right around Operation Pipe Dreams, but I wasn't aware of Operation Pipe Dreams at that time. I had heard everybody was talking, Tommy Chong got arrested for making bongs, and I was like, I didn't even know Tommy Chong made bongs, whatever.
Right.
But okay.
Yeah, neither did I.
And so I got to give a shout out to my buddy, Sawyer Pinnell. He sold me my first glass pipe. This was 2003, I believe. And I thought it was amazing. Spent like years, probably a couple of years, making tons of like homemade bongs and everything. My uncle was an electrician, so he had a garage full of PVC plastic tubing, which looking back on it wasn't very healthy, but I used to make all sorts of crazy plastic bongs and shit like that. You know what I mean? And I started like collecting pipes. I had like a bunch of cheap ones, looking back on it, mostly import stuff, but there was a few American pipes in there. One of which I still have, and I'd really love to find out who made it, but it's proto, so it's hard. So I was collecting pipes and everything, and then so you asked me about the moment that I knew, right? And that would have been in 2005. So I was in school suspension. I was in 10th grade in 2005. I was in school suspension also with my buddy Sawyer, who sold me my first glass pipe a couple of years prior. And he's like, hey man, you got to check out this website that I just found. He goes, check this out. And he types in glasspipes.org onto the thing. And I open it up, and the featured pipe for that day was, I'll never forget, it was Granddaddy Larva by Matt and Misha out in Eugene. They called themselves Eugene Rain at the time. And it was insane. I actually dug up a picture of it I can share with you later on if you want to see the pipe that got me into it.
Yeah, definitely.
So next thing I know, I'm looking at this, I'm in school suspension on the computer in the computer lab at my high school, and my jaw's on the floor, and I hear my name. I hear the teacher call my name, and my screen locks up. I'm like, oh shit. This teacher calls me over. I can't remember what teacher it was, but they had printed out the page, the screenshot of my page, right? And so he hands me a picture of Granddaddy Larva. So here I am with this sheet of paper with the headiest pipe I had ever seen in my entire life. And he tells me to go to the principal's office with it. And I just remember walking into the principal's office, just holding this thing. And I was just like, oh my God. And I'm walking there and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, people make these things. I was like, I always wondered, me and the homies would toss around ideas. How did they get that little spiral in there? How do you think they got that little line in there? Whatever, and I had my theories, but I never really thought about the fact that these could have been something that just somebody made with their own hands until I saw glasspipes.org. And that was just something hit, man, something switched. So I knew right then I wanted to blow glass. I went out, it was my 16th birthday. I had my grandma, she was like, what do you want for your birthday? I was like, I want a glass blowing kit, right? So I got this bead making kit from Sunshine Glass. Sundance, I can't remember.
Yeah, Sundance.
Sundance. We have a local shop here called Sunshine, I think. So I got this bead making kit, hot head, little rollers, little mandrels, bead release, all that. I found some of the beads that I made. You can see those. We're still doing video. These are me as a kid making beads. So I set up. There was a little extra bench outside or inside my uncle's shop, the electrician who had all the PVC. I mounted the torch to the bench, and I probably burned through those rods in a week. I was out of glass, So that was, 2005 going into like 2006. I refer to it as my bucket days, because after the garage, my family moved into a new place and I didn't have like a bench. I was all out of the materials that I had. My bead release was like a block inside the little jar, it shriveled up to nothing. It was unusable at that point. So I lost the mandrels. All I had left was a couple of tools, a couple of like the little molds, and my hothead torch. So I would sit on a bucket in my garage, and I'd have a little piece of metal on my fucking lap, and I had the torch in between my legs. And I'd sit there and I took coat hanger rods, and I cut the coat hanger rods into basically straight punties. And I'd break bottles, I'd break vases, I'd break anything glass that I could find. And I'd take those chunks, hold them with tweezers, and I'd stick it onto the coat hanger. And I would melt it until I got a glob. And I'd melt it down, and then I'd stretch them down into stringers. And then from there, I could use those as actual glass punties, and I could make little things. And I didn't have a kiln or anything at the time, so nothing really lasted. But I'd take amber beer bottles and clear beer bottles, and I'd make these little like trichome sculptures and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
And glass screens. I made thousands of glass screens, man.
Yeah, man, me too. Back in the glass screen day.
Yeah, man. All my friends had bags full of glass screens, That was the only thing I could really make that would survive, that I could actually use. I knew I couldn't make any pipes or anything like that. I remember we had this old school rap bottom, like bubble bottom zong style that like me and the homies all like had. Everybody had it in the crew at one point, got passed around. And my buddy Billy had broken the base of it. And I spent hours sanding the points down and then flame polishing them with a map gas torch. 5mm, 5x50, shattered end of a bong, you know what I mean? And then I popped a hole in the thing. I wanted to make a steamroller with it. And I believe it might have been you that asked at the Deppy thing, you asked what he used for his bowl push. And I wanted to like raise my hand so bad because I used a Phillips head screwdriver for my first bowl push ever. Huh. And it had a little cross in it and everything, but I popped a hole in the sidewall of this thing and I pushed it down and I got a little bowl push and we were able to smoke out of it. And that was like my first making a pipe kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
So then 2006, I was searching for information online, just digging, man, just trying to find anybody that could. I was thirsty, I was hungry at this point. I had been melting glass for a while. I knew that I wanted to do it. And 2006, I found TokeCity.com. Toke City led me to I think it was the GLDG at that point, the Glass Lamp Workers Discussion Group, right?
Yeah, the drama club.
Yeah. And then I met my buddy Bubba out in Buffalo. He's another glass blower out here. He was also learning. He had just set up a studio. He opened up a head shop. This was 2007 by now. He opened up Head into Hurdle in Buffalo. He was learning from Ben Leonard, our buddy Benny, who's now PDX Tubing Company.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he was learning from Benny. He took me in, taught me, what he knew at the time. And from there, we just kept at it, and the rest, I guess, history, right? Oh, I forgot about my house getting robbed in 2007. I was in school and my house got robbed and they took all my pipes.
Oh, man.
And they stole my entire glass collection except for one piece, which is the one piece that I still have. It was it was the one that I was talking about. I'd love to find out who made it. Little green wrap and rake spoon with a little steely millie on the side and a little butterfly millie, which actually makes me think Taj, because it was a little butterfly and a steely.
Huh, interesting, yeah.
Yeah, so my whole glass collection got stolen, and then I met Bubba, and I was just like, screw it, let's do this. And then I think it was about 2008. I had already been trying, learning, making some spoons and stuff like that, and quit my job at KFC. And I've been full-time ever since. And I've never looked back.
Did those bastards steal your first steamroller with the screwdriver, bowl push, too?
No, I don't know what happened to that, actually. That would have been in Billy's stuff, and who knows where that ended up at. But
it's funny, having done this show for as long as I have, and also just, been in this industry for 22 years, it's fun to hear the journey for going from curiosity, early life of, smoke a pot and stuff, and then getting exposed to glass pipes, but also like being a creator, but also an inventor, quote unquote, by making stuff out of plastic, or like, I did that shit in high school too. Like we used to take fucking 5-gallon Gatorade jugs, and make them into hookahs and stuff. And
oh yeah,
they never worked properly, and we'd all throw up almost after smoking out of them, Just stupid shit.
Yep. Big gravity
going,
bongs and shit.
oh yeah, totally, man. Zephyr Hill bottles, like we used to. My buddy of mine used to he had like a neon green PVC tube that you would put like a light in, so you could like light up your trunk of your car. Like I had some friends that were doing stereos and stuff,
Oh yeah.
And he made a steamroller out of that. But the way we would hit it was put it up in front of a AC wall unit, so you'd get like this shotgun blast from like the cold air, kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just like dumb shit. And this is like years before I even thought about blowing glass, And then like you're saying, you see your first glass pipe and you're like just sucked into it. And not everybody does, but those that like us that do. There's no looking back. You're fucked. Pretty much.
No.
You're cursed.
You're done. Yeah, absolutely. Degenerate for the rest of my life,
Yeah, completely. But, when you look back on that and you look at the journey into where you are now, like, the fact that you went to Las Vegas and almost sold out this year, it speaks volumes to the amount of work you've put in over the last decade plus to get to where you are, going back to making those plastic fucking pieces of shit pipes.
It was kind of magical back then, man. It really was. Like me and the homies, it was an entire day process. I was in New York, so weed was very illegal back then. Mm-hmm. And we'd have to find some herb. That'd be half the day right there trying to get some herb. And then it was the whole night just making something. We would sit there and collaborate. Me and the homies would collab on plastic bongs and shit. Find whatever weird old bottles we could find and shit and rubber tubing. And it was a whole, I don't know, it was kind of magical, man. It was really cool. Somehow a $5 bag of herb lasted us all day.
Right. Yeah, nowadays just roll up on a blunt and it's, gone in 20 minutes.
Oh, it's gone.
Seeing the Scott Deputy's, that big push bub, or it wasn't a push bub, the big bubbler, with all the filigree work that he did in there, like the inserts and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It had a rubber grommet. I don't know if you noticed that for the bowl that went on top.
That tube, right? With the
yeah.
With the knotwork on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny, like seeing like this super magical, fucking beautiful piece with a rubber grommet. But that's all we had.
Right.
That was, before scientific glass joints were available for pipe makers. It's fascinating, kind of the evolution of things.
I remember the first time I ever saw a roar with a glass-on-glass joint. I was like, what the hell is that sticking off of there? And I was like, where's the grommet? It was mind-blowing. It really was.
Yeah, it's even going back to like Jerome Baker, like when they were first kind of getting out and they had like the 12 mil slide, like that was like their signature thing. Like if you had to get a replacement slide, you had to buy a Jerome Baker slide, which as a business model is fucking genius.
Right.
And for myself, like early on, I had one of my local shops that like helped me get kind of past my hurdles of making garbage. They would buy everything I made, but he would always like go through all my shit and like help me refine like the size of the carb on the side and the bowl hole and stuff and the depth of the bowl. Like he always gave me like this good knowledge. But he also was like, hey dude, I need 12 mil slides. You want to start making 12 mil slides? And it helped me like establish myself in a market that there was really nobody making anything yet like that, except for Jerome Baker.
Sure.
Locally at least, especially being here in Florida, kind of at the time it was hard to get anything outside of Florida. Like, you're saying in New York the same way, like 20 years ago, you look at the cops cross-eyed and smell like weed, they're going to throw you in jail for 20 years,
Oh, for sure.
So it was always sketchy as fuck, but it was also like a way for me to learn the process by making these 12 mil slides. It was pretty cool. But also going back to glasspipes.org, and it's so interesting still hearing stories about that site. It was at first started as like a fuck you. They had a big, it was a write-up as a fuck you to John Ashcroft.
Yeah.
Like this is an art. This is a gallery we're creating. So none of this stuff is for sale. It's just for viewing. And it also kind of became one of the first social media platforms for artists in the community to really get their stuff out there. And then it was like a rating system. And I remember on the right-hand side, there was like a 1 through 100 of like the top 100 artists on there.
Oh, yeah.
And during that time period, it was always like Eugene, Deppy, Banjo, Nate, all those kind of cats.
Jag
back when
was up there a bunch.
Yeah, totally. And then I remember, I'll never forget, dude, there's one day I went on there and I was number 1, right? And it was only for like a day, but I took a picture of it and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking amazing. I've made my mark in the industry and I'm number 1 on this thing, And then like the next day I was back down to like 20 or something like that. But it was still cool because I was in like the top 20 for a long time.
Dude, that's awesome.
But it was also because there was only like 50 of us on there. So it wasn't, but still, it was pretty.
I don't think I ever even posted anything on glasspipes.org. I was never confident enough to post anything before that site got taken down,
Yeah,
so I don't think I ever even had a name on there.
Yeah, it was also because like I had like, again, being in Florida and being the opposite side of the country, as you are in New York from California and in Oregon and everything, where the glass was actually being, evolved in a sense as far as pattern work and, and up in Corvallis, like all the stuff those cats were doing. And glasspipes.org was a really good way for us to see what was being created, to inspire us to like look at awe and like, how the fuck are these guys making this stuff? And I had one shop locally, this guy Colby, who actually passed away a couple years ago. He had a shop called It's All Good, and he was friends with all those guys. And he would go out there and then bring back just like the gnarliest, headiest shit. So I had a chance to actually hold this stuff in my hand and look at it and study it. And he kind of knew some of the ways things were done, but at the same time, at that point in time, back in early 2000s, people still weren't talking anything about glass, like sharing knowledge and stuff. So he was the same way.
Oh yeah, no.
He wasn't really sharing the knowledge. So I'd go home and just fuck a bunch of stuff up trying to figure it out, and then eventually kind of did,
Yeah. I mean, I know all about that. That was basically my entire career. I mean, I was blessed with a little more access, being in like the mid 2000s there. Mm-hmm. Toke City, I was able to chat with some artists and stuff like that. But for the most part, for a long time, for 10 years, it was me and Bubba just trying to figure it out, and making a ton of mistakes and trying to look at pictures. And we had, I'm not too far from Ithaca. Okay. We had Buttermilk Studios there, and Steve Gelb was out there, and Sean Foley and stuff like that. But they were 4 hours away from me. I was, 15 years old, 16 years old, looking at pictures on the internet. They may as well have been in California, as far as I was concerned.
Did you notice too, like the Philly crew? Because like those cats all started coming up, and they, to me, like I've always said, like the California West Coast side was always like the laid back kind of growing weed out in the woods, surfer kind of hippie community. Where like the East Coast, like the Philly crew, for instance, they were more of like the hip hop street crew, graffiti, skateboarding, which you could see, really emulate in their work that they were doing, and that style of stuff, I mean, look at, Slinger, like at the time, and the kind of the graffiti style of just like patterning that they were all, all those guys were all doing. It's just crazy. And then Colton, for, his actual graffiti style pieces that he's making. So it was interesting, but at that time, did you see that influence like in your area kind of coming through, or did that influence you guys at all? Like that whole that East Coast Philly kind of scene blowing up?
I mean, I can't say it didn't. The Philly cats were the first people that I saw that were really putting things out as art installations. Mm-hmm. The California crew, they were posting things on glasspipes.org like this is art, but it was the Philly cats that I first saw taking cues from the fine art world and bringing that in. So that was kind of the influence.
Right, like composition.
Yeah, absolutely. Little placards with, the name and the date and all that and stuff like that, So they were I definitely noticed that. I always noticed differences in East and West Coast styles. I look at Steve Gelb's work as a real example, as a good example of East Coast work. So yeah, I'd have to say I did notice it, but I don't know if I noticed it at the time.
Yeah.
Looking back on it, I can say that it was there, but I don't know if I really noticed it then. I wasn't involved in any of those crews enough. It was still just pictures on the internet.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I know, I had some good friends of mine that were Midwest kids. Well, I guess I don't know if you know Scott Baker. He's up in Rochester, kind of area.
Baker's the homie, man. He's on Syracuse. I was just talking to him 2 days ago. I'm planning on,
nice.
Or maybe somewhere in between. Somewhere in between Rochester and Syracuse. But we've been planning on doing some collab work for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, I met Scott and Adam. I don't know if I'm having a brain fart on Adam's last name, but I think Adam was from Iowa. But him and Scott moved down to Florida around the same time and met up, and then we all kind of got together. And it was fun seeing some of the influence from the Midwest area that was influenced from both coasts. Seeing kind of this merge of this hybrid of what was going on, and with Bear Claw doing his kind of funky sculptural pieces, and Banjo coming in the scene, and the line work, and all that stuff that was going on, and then meeting Scott and Adam and seeing their stuff up in person, because I never really had seen like really tight and Calmo stacked wigwag pieces and reversals and stuff, except for what I was doing, and when I saw their work, I was like, oh shit, I thought my stuff looked awesome and was clean, but then I see their stuff and it was like night and day difference. I think a lot of it had to do with color choice too, as well at the time for myself, because like I've always said, I'm not colorblind, but I'm colorblind to color theory, even though I've taken theory classes and stuff. Like we said
Yeah, I
pre-recording, like
hear that.
I'm still using amber purple, which I fucking love, just because
Yeah, so I was gonna
it
say
is
that's my standby.
yeah, it is what it is, right?
That's my go-to. Yeah, yeah,
But
exactly.
but you see like a lot of like the brightness, like with the guys in the Philly scene though, they were bringing out the CAD colors, like really intense sculptural bright pieces, that were just super fucking clean. And I'm sitting down here in Florida like, man, how are these guys achieving that? And then all of a sudden Salt, comes out, and all these little guys kind of popping out that were all part of like the bead scene. That like it was really an interesting evolution to see how countrywide how things started to influence each other. So it's cool seeing your work, because I feel like your work too has like this old school, new school kind of feel to it with influences from both sides. And now it just seems like, with the internet and the way this world's kind of gotten so much smaller now, it's just, there's really no scene per se. It's just the community that is being influenced by each other.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty amazing to watch actually. I see a lot of like newer artists coming up and just progressing so fast, man. And I feel like sometimes it's easy to get in that like back in my day kind of thing, but
Hmm.
I sit back and I try to just enjoy the fact that people don't have to go through as much of a struggle to find the information. And it's beautiful to see people jumping on the torch and within a year or two making some gorgeous pieces.
That's insane,
It's
isn't it?
it's beautiful, man. It really is.
Yeah, it's for me. I agree. As long as those people, the artists that are doing that, are also not just like one trick pony kind of situations. Because like once the rig became the spoon in a sense, or like then all a lot of so many
Yeah.
new glass blowers that aren't even in the industry anymore because they tapped out because they couldn't do anything else except for making rigs, and then the market popped. So those that
Versatility is key, man.
oh yeah, dude, those that learn all the other stuff, are still killing it. And even at Glass Vegas, like seeing some of the work there from artists I had no idea who they were, and they've been blowing glass for like 3 or 4 years, and they're making shit that I couldn't even fucking dream of. It's like
For sure.
it's wild. I think for myself too, like kind of something I'm gonna talk about on my Glass Vegas recap is I kind of realized when I was in Vegas that the last 10 years I've had this chip on my shoulder, right? So I started working over at the Mouse House in 2012, which is about the time the industry really started to take off, like where the volume of stuff being created was lower because it wasn't all mass production, and the prices for stuff were just going through the fucking roof. And all these artists were making names for themselves. I was out here doing my thing, and I started my podcast to kind of keep my toe in the industry and, see things going. But I did have this chip on my shoulder because I was refining my solid work and my sculptural skills working with the Rebus brothers at Disney. But at the same time, I really wanted to focus on my pipes and refine those skills. Like, I still really can't do a Jesus seal. I've done it a couple times, but like to say I can do it consistently, isn't a thing. And even like within the last 6 months, I've finally can make a nice clean ring seal, which is ridiculous because I've been doing push bubs for fucking 22 years. I can do a doer seal all day long, but then you go to add a joint to it, it's a whole nother fucking animal.
Oh yeah.
you
Now
know,
that joint
so
wants to do that, or that seal wants to do that.
yeah, totally. Or
Starts
it's
waving
taxed
around
to the
on you.
side, or some dumb shit. But when I left Vegas, that chip on my shoulder was gone. Like it was a whole different, it was which was really relieving for me. And it was only just pressure I put on myself, just stupid shit. But that being
Oh yeah.
said, it's watching from a distance in a sense the industry grow to where it is, and then when Instagram started and seeing the auctions going and the younger 19, 20-year-old glass blowers again that were making just rigs, a lot of them were just garbage, and then they're doing auctions and their friends are like hyping them up and spending $3,000 on these auctions. Who knows if they were actually getting paid, if it was real shit, if
Yeah.
they were just blowing their stuff up. But a lot of those guys again are no longer in the industry. Guys like yourself who took the time to refine their work and find their voice and stuff, here you are still killing it. And again, you go to Las Vegas this year and you almost sell out.
Right.
Do you see going any different path if you didn't experiment with the plastic pipes and shit back then?
I think that definitely plays a part in why I'm very versatile on the torch. My my love for blowing glass doesn't stem from the glass pipe scene. My love of blowing glass stems from wanting to learn this medium. It's I always tell people, as far as that goes, like we always say, make 1,000 spoons, right? and everybody's like, people are like, well, I don't want to make spoons, that's not my thing. And I always try to explain to people that by the time you're done with 1,000 spoons, it's not that you've learned how to make a spoon, but by the time you've done with 1,000 spoons, you've learned the skills to make pretty much anything you want.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll take pieces and I'll break them down for people, and I'll be like, look, the neck of this is basically a spoon, and this is a spoon blown out for a tube. You know what I mean? That's a spoon right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I added a section. So like,
absolutely,
it's, you're learning, you gotta focus on blowing glass, and then the rest comes later.
Yeah.
Then you can make whatever you want, as a foundation, fundamentals.
Yeah, completely, man. That's why I always preach pulling points. Like, as much as pulling points is like repetitive and tedious, it's like there are so many skills that you learn, not to mention learning how to use your torch properly, and also learning heat base and how to pull an even handle. And then if it's not on center, you learn why being on center is so important, all that stuff. So it definitely, it all kind of gradually, teaches you a lot of skill sets. And again, the spoon thing's the same way. Like, I was kind of joking, like how many of the cats out there that are young that are doing this, that are making rigs, can actually pop a hole and push a bowl and make a carb on the side of a pipe and make it all work functionally and not burn your fucking thumb.
Right.
Because your carb hole's too big, so ready to stick your fucking dick in it. You know what I mean?
Right. Or your bowl head's angled forward away from you, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot to being able to make a clean spoon, and it goes a lot deeper than just being able to make a clean spoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree 100%. When you started making, functional pieces that were actually sellable, like, how'd you go about getting your work out there at first?
So I was very, very blessed in my situation. Like I said, when I first started, I met Bubba, who was opening Head Into Hurdle. Head Into Hurdle was open for 10 years. We were open from 2007 to 2017. We were one of the first distributors of Toro in the area. We were a pretty decent sized shop. So I was blessed to be able to pretty much make whatever I wanted and know that I had an outlet to sell it. Granted, I might not get a lot for it, but I was able to try and experiment outside of the production stuff that we would stock our shelves with. We would make production bubblers. I made Gandalfs, cheap spoons, everything, to stock the shelves. And then when I wanted to, I'd make my production work. And then, end of the day or whatever, now I'm going to try a ring seal. Now I'm going to try this, or I'm going to try that, and I was able to explore a lot more. And not everybody has that. So when people ask me that question, how do I get my work out there and stuff, I unfortunately can't really help too much with that, because I was blessed with the situation that I had.
Yeah, no, totally. Because I'm in the same boat. I had a couple shops that were, like I was saying, one of my buddies had not really a buddy, but an acquaintance that became a business friend, had a tattoo shop, and he loved to buy all my first fucking cheap spoons that bowls were wonky and stuff, because he would put them on his little basket and sell them for $5. And I would just give him, 100 pieces that I stocked up on, and then I'd get a free tattoo out of it, kind of thing. So it was a nice way to refine my work, and then also not worry about having to throw it away. And even though a lot of stuff I still did.
We had a $10 spoon bin at Head Into Hurdle, and that was basically mine and Bubba's cheap practice spoons. They're just a basic wrap and rake, and we pumped those out. I remember one specific day we challenged ourselves. We made 100 spoons between the two of us in one day, and that was an accomplishment. But
yeah, man, I used to do that myself in a day on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Just stupid. Like, I'd pull like a 5-inch point and make 2 spoons on one point.
Oh yeah, we would do 5 or 6 end to end. Chunk of 38 heavy wall, probably about 8 inches, wrap and rake the whole thing, pull it down into little bubbles, shape each one, neck, and then I'd do the bowl push and everything going back down the line.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's fun. It's interesting looking back on those days. And for you, fortunately, I'm sure you knew that there were more sizes out there than just 1-inch heavy wall. Because for myself, for like the first 5 or 6 years, I didn't have a catalog in hand, and the internet wasn't really a thing. So all I knew was that was maybe some 6 mil and 8 mil clear rod, and then 1-inch heavy wall was I used for everything. Even going back to when my first torch was a minor bench burner, I was making wrap and rake bubblers on that thing using 1-inch heavy wall. It took me forever to make them, but
hey, you did it.
Yeah, still exactly.
I had a similar experience, but mine was 38 heavy. My teacher Benny had figured out that a case of 38 heavy was the most bang for your buck, in his opinion. You got the most number of tubes for whatever the money was at that time. So pretty much everything I did was pulled points on 38 mil heavy. And I mean, I'd make big ass bubblers on pulled points off the 38 mil. And if I needed bigger tubing, I'd blow it out. If I wanted thinner tubing, I'd pull it down. 7 mil rod and 9.5 blow tube for down stems on bubblers. And that was it. That was pretty much everything I made for years was on those sizes.
Hell yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's so funny. Looking back at that.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish I had some 1-inch.
Yeah, right.
It was so annoying trying to pull that down every time to do small stuff, you know. But we did it. And it teaches you a lot though. You know, using 1-inch, trying to make a bubbler on a smaller torch, you know, backing that whole thing up, it teaches you a lot in that. So, you know. Yeah,
completely. Yeah, for me, I remember even like doing inside outs and stuff, and like, why am I burning my hand for? Like, I couldn't figure out, you know, what was going on. Like, you know, because I wasn't plugging up my mouthpiece on my point, you know.
Yeah.
And my buddy came by. He was up from Michigan area, and they were learning how to do some inside out stuff. He's like, yeah, let's get a piece of newspaper or toilet paper and just shove it in the end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so simple. Why didn't I think about that?
Why didn't I think of that? Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I remember the first time Eric Anders, actually, I was talking to him years ago, and I was like, dude, how do you make a bow tie? Like, how is a bow tie section made? And he's like, you're going to laugh when I tell you. And then he told me. I'm just like, how did I never think of that? You just rip it in half?
Yeah.
Like, that's it?
Yeah.
But you said inside outs, actually, and that reminded me of a funny story, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
The first time you mentioned the tattoo shop and inside outs, the first order I ever got, it was a sketchy pawn shop in Lockport, New York. The guy was an old tour head, you know, and I went in there with, I don't even know if I made any spoons yet. I might have been like practicing some spoons. And he was like, can you make hammers? Can you make inside outs? Can you make Sherlocks? And yada, yada. And I was like, yeah, man. Yeah, of course I can. No problem. I had no idea.
Mm-hmm. Always the answer.
And he ordered,
yeah,
he ordered a case of like 20 pipes or something. And I went back to the studio and I figured out how to make inside outs. And I did the same thing. I burned my hand opening up a flare, trying to do some squiggles. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? My buddy came over and he shoved a cigarette butt in the end of my point handle. I was like, oh, awesome. That was my first ever order, my first ever inside outs too. So that was a fun time.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I remember early inside outs, and like I think every single one I made would crack in the process, you know, not getting the color melted in perfectly down like where my handle was and stuff, you know. And then fall off the blowpipe and have to pick it up and stick it back on, or the whole thing would crack down the middle. But I was always able to work all that shit out. And by doing that, again, like they say, if you know what you're doing when you can fix something, you know. So early on in the day of doing that, I was like, oh, I guess I actually can do this. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was, you know, it's not what you know, it's not what you can do, it's what you can fix, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I had an inside out crack on me yesterday. I decided to make a little hammer.
Oh, nice.
The whole front of it cracked on me because I was pulling down the mouthpiece, focusing more on the connection there by the blow tube so that didn't crack. They always crack when I set them down on the bench, set them down to do the flat spot, and the mouthpiece cracks from the graphite. You know, that was always what happened to me. But that's still, you know, 16 years later, it's still happening.
Oh, dude, my last day before going to Vegas, everything I made that day at Disney broke, and it was things that were finished, and then I would go to grab them with cold tweezers, and touching cold tweezers on hot glass would crack it, and it's like a character that's like probably 6 inches thick through the belly, you know, and it would just crack all the way through the thing. Like, yeah, it was.
There's no coming back from that.
No, and it was one of those things too where I was going to head to the studio afterwards to wrap up my shit. I mean, that's how tight my stuff was. And I was like, if I go tonight to the studio, everything I'm going to finish up is going to break. So I'm going home, going to bed.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to just call it quits, man. I'm done for now.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I've learned doing this is how to listen to your gut and know when it is time to tap out.
It's tough. That's tough listening to your gut, man, because we have, you know, being self-employed, we have the personal side of us that is like, yo, go treat yourself, go home, you know, go get some lunch or something. And then there's the business side of us. It's like, no, skip lunch, keep working, you know, you have orders to fill, you know, so I always tell people like, yeah, I'm my own boss, but my boss is a dick and won't let me get a day off. So
yeah, completely.
yeah, you know.
So funny. So kind of backing up too, like, so, I mean, obviously you have drive and passion and kind of, I guess, discipline, I'd call it, with what you're doing. Was there anything like in your growing up in your childhood influences, like in your life that kind of taught you that mentality, or that's because it's a skill set in a sense, to be disciplined in a sense?
I have struggled a lot with discipline. Part of in my, teen brain, part of my decision to do this for a living was, I'm going to party my whole life away. I can do whatever I want. I don't ever have to work hard. And, that was a lie. But no, I mean, my family was awesome. I'm very blessed with an amazing family. My parents are deadheads. My grandfather was retired Chief Master Sergeant from the Air Force, but he wasn't the Air Force guy that you'd think of. He was a very creative man. He welded. My shop's filled with little metal sculptures that he's made and things like that. So
Awesome.
I didn't necessarily get too much of the discipline thing growing up. You know what I mean? I had to teach that to myself in later years. It's only really been in the past few years that I've been disciplined enough to get myself up out of bed at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning and get into the studio by 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and work, because I've tried to turn what's always been a passion and just a product of love. Now I'm actually trying to make it a business.
Oh, yeah.
So I've had to teach myself that that discipline. Yeah. It's tough.
That's why I asked, because it's easy to get locked into like working late nights. Like here in Florida, sometimes we have to because it's fucking 1,000 degrees out all day, and just for the safety of our health, we have to work at night.
Yeah.
And then it just throws off your whole life sleep schedule and everything else. It's tough, but it's, again, the discipline side of things is I guess it's like any other muscle. You just got to work at it, and eventually you can develop it. And also you have to give yourself some grace to fuck up and know, I need to take today off.
Yeah. Be kind to yourself, man. We have to.
Yeah, it's super important. Outside of your pipes, like, do you do any other art besides glass, or do you do any other art with glass?
I love making anything out of glass. I like doing drinkware, marbles, stuff like that. The usual. I don't really do too much other artwork. I played guitar and played bass. I was in a band in high school and stuff like that. I was never very good. I can, comfortably say I was never very good.
Yeah.
I struggle with the term artist. I don't necessarily use the term artist so much for myself because I find myself to be more of a craftsman or craftsperson than an artist. So no, I don't really do too much other art. I always kind of want to. Sometimes I'll pick up a paintbrush and try to paint some stuff, or mess around with some clay or something. But having been doing what I do successfully for so long, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around being bad at something else. So I struggle with that.
And having to put that time into it as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to swallow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I'm the same way. Like, I guess for myself, I would consider myself to be a little bit of both, like as a crafts person, but also an artist in a sense too. Because I love to create art, but also love like super clean refinement and the craftsmanship of something that
Right.
But like early on in my life, like I did a lot of drawing and cartoon work and sketches, and then got into ceramics that then led into glass. But now that I've been doing this for so long, I had to find a creative outlet outside of glass that wasn't dealing with me using my hands, because using your hands all day, you gotta give your hands a break. And so like I play music as well, and it's there's been times where I go to pick up my guitar and I'm like, just not feeling it. Nothing's coming to mind. I have like 1,000 songs in my catalog in my brain that I could play, and nothing comes to mind at all because my creative energy is just completely drained from my long day in the shop or the week or the month or whatever. And if I draw things, if I'm sketching out, it's always something that I'm going to be creating in glass.
Yep, same.
Which
drawing
is funny.
blueprints.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's so funny. So, which I always preach on the show, it's like, it's always ideal to put it on paper, and not everybody has any kind of like a basic drawing skill set as well, which I have a course I'm going to be launching here pretty soon. That's part of that course, is teaching some basic drawing fundamentals so you can get out of your head on paper, kind of some stuff. Yeah, like drawing with shapes, like the whole idea of drawing a cat with using triangles, that kind of shit.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I like that
But
idea a lot. It's cool. I try to, a lot of times when I'm looking at shapes of pipes, and I look a lot at negative space,
mhm.
and I break things down into basic shapes a lot. So I like that idea. I like that concept.
Well, your work seems like it has like a fluidity to it and movement, which is what I appreciate. Like, which why I guess I consider it to be kind of an old school look, because I know like like the squatty bubs and like the old stuff with the wig wags and stuff back in the day. I see the influence in your work, and which I really like a
Thank you.
lot.
I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Wait till I show you the picture of Granddaddy Larva. It'll all make sense.
hell yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
hell yeah. And I guess that leads us up to where we are now, where we are 2022, which is just fucking crazy saying that because it is, but you know,
It's insane, man.
and bringing up Las Vegas, how long did you prep for Vegas this year?
I gave myself 1 month. I'm still working off orders from last Las Vegas.
Yeah, I've heard that from a lot of people.
Well, COVID put last year's Las Vegas off for a few months, so it was later on
Yeah,
in the year. So we only had 6-7 months between the shows.
yeah,
And Glass Vegas for me, last year's Glass Vegas was my first time doing any big glass show. I've done smaller ones, local shows. I've vended at, Fish Lot and, Further Tour and crap like that,
yeah.
But that was my first experience with that. So I gave myself 1 month to prepare. Closer to 3 weeks, really, because that first week I was still finishing up some orders and stuff like that. But
Nice.
so I gave myself 3 weeks to prepare. I didn't bring much. I think I had 11 rigs and 7 or 8 dry pipes, and that was all I brought. So
Were you going there?
I say, yeah, I sold out, but I didn't bring much
Well,
to
yeah.
sell out, right?
Yeah, totally. But were you bringing those as also like samples to say, like you're saying, like you're taking orders and stuff?
Not so much. I really wanted to look at this year as more of an opportunity to kind of relax at it, because I'm still booked up on orders with my distributors and stuff. I have orders. There's plenty of work to pay the bills. So I really wanted to look at it more as almost like a work vacation this year,
Okay.
and I think I did a really good job of that. I had a great time. So,
Hell yeah.
Kind of taking a step back.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think is smart, because I was trying to figure out, like, for myself being my first time going compared to last year, which, like, I guess the 2021 Las Vegas you can't compare to any other trade show probably ever again,
It was
just because of
insane.
how fucking like everybody's sold out pretty much.
Yeah, it was a feeding frenzy, man. It was crazy.
Yeah. So the expectations for this year, they were high, but they are also kind of like muted a little bit. Also being so close to champs, and like I was talking to Amy Short that runs Las Vegas about that.
Amy is awesome.
Yeah, she does a lot of work for this community. I don't think people realize it.
For sure. Absolutely. I was really glad to have a couple of minutes to chat with her at the end of the show this year and give her my sincere appreciation.
For myself, having never gone and seeing it from my fresh eyes, it was definitely eye-opening for myself and how to approach the scene, because I went there with minimal amount of work, but I went there with packages I was selling.
Sure.
And I did fairly well. Like I didn't sell a ton of shit at the moment. I've got a lot of orders that are coming in now after the show, which I found a lot of the shops were doing that. Like they were saying, like, hey, we're here kind of scouting out. Like, day one with the VIP night after we did the talk, that was like the big rush for all of the buyers to come in and get all the high-end one-off pieces, the hype pieces, etc. And then also there's the buyers, their people that were there with them, their scouts kind of went around and kind of saw what was available, and then they went back to the buyers, and the buyers then day 2 and day 3 then went to the shops and then purchased their orders, what have you. But a lot of the shops too seemed like they were just kind of in general just kind of scouting it out and meeting people and getting names and contacts, and then getting back to their shops, checking inventory levels, and then seeing what they want to bring into their stores.
That makes sense.
So, because I know it seemed like a lot of the booths that didn't do well were kind of pissed because they didn't do well, quote unquote. But I don't think they realized what was actually happening. If they had the attitude that they were going to be successful, whether they sell a fucking pipe or not, it might have been a little different for them, like mentality wise.
Right.
I don't know. I didn't talk to anybody personally that didn't sell anything. But it was definitely not last year.
It definitely was not. I tried my best to tell myself, and like me and my buddies that shared a table, we were kind of reinforcing it to each other that like, don't expect what happened last year, but you can tell yourself that a million times. You're still hoping for it. It was
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It really was. We were all sold out by the end of the first night. From what I've gathered, again, I've only been to Las Vegas one other time. So, but from what I've gathered, the way it went this year is a lot more like what it usually is,
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
should expect. Um, but it was, it was kind of nice in its own way. The fact that it was a little more laid back. I did have one friend who came with a bunch of stuff and he didn't really make any sales and he was being really he didn't make any sales at first. I should say the first couple of days, and he kept his spirits up. He wasn't angry. He wasn't grumping around or anything. But I could tell that he was a little frustrated. But by the time he left, he had made contacts with two big name distributors, and he left with a connection that can carry him through the rest of his career. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
That's
it was
important.
still
Yeah.
it was well worth the money spent, I think, for all of us just to be in that position. Where else are you going to get?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, and I mean, that really what we're paying for our booth to have a spot to make the connections.
Yeah,
Here's what I make, but the relationships that you begin to develop there, that's what's important. Because again, like you're saying, they could last your career. If you do it right.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's that's kind of how I was. Like I said, I was looking at it as kind of like stepping back this year. More of just a chance to network and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
it was really nice. It was really nice looking at it like that.
Yeah, yeah. I know they were talking too, potentially doing a second Las Vegas, like summertime version.
Okay.
So we'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna bring Amy on, and we're gonna see, kind of pick her brain about it.
Yeah,
Just,
that'd be
to
awesome.
see if it's actually would be beneficial for the industry. Because I know like Champs, and I felt like at one point in time, like about 5 years ago, there was too many trade shows. It was just oversaturated.
Oh, they were on top of each other.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. Right? Like East Coast, West Coast, like it was just fucking too much. And which I get, not like it's being in Florida again. Like not everybody can always get out of Florida because we're such a long state, as we are,
Sure.
and to get to California or to even get to Vegas, it's a hell of a trip.
Yeah.
So it seems like we had like the big show, and we had Champs here in Florida, and they were successful from what I understand. Again, Champs and those kind of shows are everything from imports to cigarettes to whatever, not just like what Las Vegas does, which I appreciate Las Vegas for that.
Right.
So it'd be kind of interesting because I feel like too, like this year, I think next year say will be better than this year because of the overlap that we had this year. Like people were still had inventory from, like my brother that was Lurker out there. He had some shops that still had his work, and he was actually, like you're saying, he was still filling orders from last year.
Yeah.
So it's I'm wondering if it's the same time next year that it would be a full year for shops to go through their inventory, and then they're going to want to restock again.
That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm hoping for. I would like it to be that one event that I do every year, and go back and kind of re-up on the orders and carry those through the year until the next event.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned all the shops being stacked on top of each other, and that had a lot to do with why I didn't go to any trade shows for a long time. I was just kind of wishy-washy about like, well, I can't afford to do them all. So if I'm going to just do one, which one am I going to go to? I wasn't sure which one. And then Las Vegas started happening, and that's the one, that's the one to go to as a glass artist. I'm not a head shop. I'm not a distributor. I'm just an individual artist. I figured Las Vegas is the one to go to. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're making your stuff and you're creating your line of work, because obviously you have like a certain, I guess I'd say a certain style that you work within, like you have your voice in a sense with what you're doing. Like how did you early on go about pricing out your stuff and trying to figure out that whole idea?
That's always been a struggle, pricing it out. It's hard to put a value on our own time, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, the beginning of my career, the first 10 years, I priced things out according to what everything would go for on the store shelf. I was working once a day at that head shop. I talked to other people in the area that worked and ran head shops, and we all there was only so much you could charge for certain pieces in our market. It was before I had really branched out into selling things online. So a lot of my prices were just based on what I saw or what I thought that my market at least could hold. That eventually led into a bunch of people telling me I needed to raise my prices, because I was still, for a long time, I was still counting sections. There's 10 sections on this pipe, $10 a piece. That's $100 wholesale, right? And that was kind of the
Okay.
old school
Yeah.
way I was taught. Then I started doing auctions on Instagram and Facebook, and that started giving me a little more of an idea of what the market, wanted. From there, I have done a lot more to keep track of my time, my costs, all that, and figure out an hourly wage and then work off of that. So my pieces are priced out according to my time now.
Nice. Yeah. I've done the same thing in a sense, like the $30 minimum an hour kind of idea.
Right.
But then there's pieces I can make within an hour that I'll sell for $500, and it's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, those are. I just look at those as kind of extras, right? That's.
Yeah.
But for my main production line and stuff like that, yeah, it's an hourly wage. I started really comparing myself to other craftspeople, carpenters, electricians, things like that. And any of those folks working that have been perfecting their craft for over a decade, they get paid 50, 60, 70, they get paid a lot of money an hour. So started looking at it as more of a self-respect kind of thing. I had to respect myself as an actual crafts person. I have dedicated.
Yeah, absolutely.
As of this year, so I'm 32 years old now. I was 16 when I started. That was 16 years ago. So as of this year, I've spent half of my life learning how to blow glass. And from this point forward, it will be the majority of my life. And I kind of like that.
Hell yeah.
So
hell yeah. Next year's your Boro birthday.
Yep. Exactly.
It's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and with the craftsman comparison thing, I remember, God, it's probably, I'm trying to think how long ago this was now. Maybe 12 years ago. I think it was right before I started working over at the Mouse House. I started selling to Joint Forces, and I was talking to them, and they were asking about pricing and stuff, and I was like, well, I had a couple things I was making that I knew I could do in a production sense. I mean, I had a lot of things, but what I actually wanted to make, and that's what they wanted me to do, was like, what do you want to make that you can make a lot of, that you can feel comfortable making, and also make a good living at it, and we can help support that, that whole thing. And he was like, think about like what an electrician makes that's been doing it for 20 years, or whatever, and we started doing the same thing. Like they're making like $60, $70, $100 an hour.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, that makes sense. So I'll start pricing my stuff around that same range. And that's when I slowly started, that hourly salary was from like 30 to 50 to 70 to 80, and it made a huge difference. It made a huge difference in my confidence as what I was doing, that reinforcing that my work was quality and had a value to it. It wasn't just some bullshit.
Yeah.
Which,
people ask you the price, and I would just like kind of look at my feet and be like, oh, I want to get this much for it. And then nobody wants to buy something from the guy that doesn't even know how to price his own stuff, right? Like if you don't even know what it's worth, how am I gonna value it and give you my money if you don't even know what it's worth? So I started. That's why I look at it as like a self-respect kind of thing, And the confidence.
Yeah, and like, yeah, it's a huge confidence thing, big time. You got to be excited about your work and proud of your work, and not, like you're saying, not look at your feet like, oh, maybe $20,
right?
But the worst too is like when you tell, you're like, yeah, what do you give me exactly? I was gonna say the same thing. Because like there's been times where I walked into shops, like early on. Like one of my most embarrassing moments ever, I walked into this guy's store. I sat there for like 45 minutes waiting for him to deal with customers. Same kind of like pawn shop, kind of record store, kind of, shithole. And this guy was a complete asshole anyways. Like he was known in the area for being a douche. And I walked in there with my case of bubblers, and they were like, they were clean wrapping rakes. But eventually, after 45 minutes of waiting, he's like, I'll give you $90 for the whole case. And it was probably like $300 worth of shit. And I had rent due, and I'm like stressing out about it and stuff. I was like, there's no way, dude. I was like, I got it, I need this for this. And then he's like, okay, fine. So he paid me the money, takes the stuff out unwraps them, puts them on his counter, and the hammer bubbler he put down, the fucking stem came disconnected from the can.
No.
And so there's two pieces sitting there, so I had to give him money back.
Right.
Kind of thing, And that was the last time I ever dealt with this guy. But it was like super embarrassing, but also like a very humbling moment for myself.
Yeah.
At the same time, and it made me immediately get out of the mindset like I've got to pay bills, so I'll take what I can get. It's like I've got to pay bills, so I need to get the most that I can get, not just take what I can get.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I need to pay
It was a
bills
complete
now,
mind shift.
and I need to pay bills for the rest of my life. And I want to do this for the rest of my life, so I need to look at it in the sense of longevity, and taking whatever you get is not sustainable, as a career.
No, not at all.
You mentioned that hammer breaking. It reminds me of one of my most embarrassing moments. I was at a shop, and it's like it's a shop that's local around here, pretty well known for selling like cheaper stuff. And they got a really cold cement floor. And I pulled out my case, and this was a lot more recent than I really want to admit. This was just a few years ago. But I had a case of inside out spoons, and I've been making inside outs for 12, 13 years at this point. I was confident in them. They're chunky, they're nice, they're annealed right, all that. So I pull out my case. I was with my buddy. I brought my buddy there. He had a whole case of stuff too. Pulled out my case. I'm showing him the spoons, and he's like, "Are they going to break if I drop them?" And I'm all cocky about it. I'm like, "Nah, man." Chucked one down. When I went to toss the thing, it hooked onto my pinky and kind of arced straight down onto their cold cement and shattered. Million pieces all over their floor. I had to ask them for a broom so that I could sweep my broken pipe off of their floor.
Oh, shit.
I closed my case and I never went back there, man. I've gone back, I get gasoline there and stuff like that. It's a gas station kind of thing, but I've never tried to sell them glass again. I've never
That's so funny. Whenever shops would ask me that, is it going to break if it hits the floor? I'm like, yeah, it's fucking glass. What do you think,
it's
you
glass.
jackass?
Yeah, that's what I tell them now.
Yeah.
I was used to the lot thing, we were at fish shows and shit. We'd walk around with a pipe or a hat full of pipes and jingle them around and toss them on the parking lot and stuff like that, And so I was just like, yeah, of course it will. Smash. Nope.
At least you had it in the case, man. There were days I'd go see my distributor and I'd have everything in a small bucket because that's how he carried all his shit everywhere. So I didn't know any better. So and I remember going to meet him, and I had probably $3,000 worth of spoons, production inside out spoons, little 3-inch things, and he was a once a month guy. So it was all my bills were due kind of thing. And I had some asshole pull out in front of me, and they were on my front seat of my pickup truck, and I just hit the brakes, and it just dumped off my seat into the floorboard of my car. And I'm like, I didn't want to even look at it,
Yeah.
And so I pulled in the parking lot, and I was like, hey, dude, this just happened, and we the Tupperware was covering it, so we pulled it up, and probably 2/3 of them were broken,
Oof.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so frustrating.
That sucks.
Yeah. So then I got a case and started wrapping everything up. At that point in time,
I left
no more of this bullshit.
I left a case of pipes with only 2 or 3 pieces just a few months ago. Left it on the roof of my car. Drove off.
Oh my god.
Okay, and it slid off my car at an intersection around the corner from my shop. Somebody flagged me down at the next intersection, said some black box fell off your car. By the time I went back, it was gone. Somebody had found it and ran off with it. It was just gone. A couple ocarinas.
Wild.
I think it was a Sherlock that was already sold. I had to remake the Sherlock for the guy. I sent him a message on Instagram, be like, dude, you're not going to believe what my dumbass just did. But yeah, so
oh man,
now I don't set my cases on the roof of my car.
Yeah, that's smart. I've learned to do that with lots of things, like cups of coffee,
Oh yeah. I would have thought that I would have learned years ago.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I say it takes me a long time to learn some things in life.
Yep.
But to back up to you working in the shop, I know early on in the show, I was always talking about if you're moving to a new area or even just trying to price out your work, to go out and scout out smoke shops in your area to look at the prices on things and do a little 2.5 time, math kind of reversal and, trying to figure out what they're buying these things at wholesale for. And the fact that you have this opportunity to work in this shop and then have that not only access to sell your work, but also to see other artists coming in, what they're selling their stuff for, and also then to see what you're selling your shit for.
Right.
It's huge and beneficial. And, for new glass blowers out there listening to this, or even if you're trying to figure out how to price something, again, go scout your shops. Don't go online.
Yeah, those prices are all over the place. See what your actual market can hold. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And at first, it's not a bad thing to price your work at what I call fair market value of what other people are selling their stuff for. And then if you find that your stuff is selling faster than their stuff is, and then supply and demand comes in, then you can start increasing your prices a little bit, et cetera.
Yeah, but it's a good jump off point.
Yeah, completely. It's a good way to establish a price point for your work, and also to give you that confidence that your stuff has a value to it, because you're seeing other work out there. Even if you see other work that's less quality than yours, you could still go in there and say, hey, I can sell you this for this price. Because, like, I'm sure you've had the same thing where you go into a smoke shop with an inside-out spoon, and the guy's like, well, why would I buy that from you for $10, but I could buy this for $3? I'm like, well, for one, that was probably made by some 4-year-old in a sweatshop in China, and mine's better quality piece, glass, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, dude, on the other end of the spectrum, the retailer, the retailer purchasing person that comes in to buy the thing, a lot of times doesn't give a fuck.
No.
Again, having the $10 bucket of spoons on your counter that are all shitty.
Yeah.
They're disposable pipes. So it's, it's a weird dichotomy to balance and figure out, like, the direction to take your stuff.
Yeah.
And again, to have confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, if you're going to go to shops and look at what they're selling, it's important to find the right kind of shops. You got to find the shops that are already in our market, that are selling American glass, or otherwise, you can't go into the gas station and compare your prices to the gas station pipes. It's two completely different markets, So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, man. So you think you'll be a pipe maker forever, or do you want to explore other areas within what you're doing? Getting into, say, chandeliers and light fixtures, and different areas of glass and out there, or even like furnace work and hot shop stuff.
So glass will always be a part of my life, no matter what. It's the only thing that's ever been a constant as far as my attention. It's undoubtedly my passion, and the only thing that I really want to do with my life. That being said, I always jump at opportunities to work outside of my comfort zone. You mentioned chandeliers, and that's actually one thing specifically that I really, really want to do. I want to move on to larger installation type things. Mm-hmm. In order to do that, I need to go through a few more stepping stones of expanding my market. I need to expand my studio. So in my immediate goals as a glass artist are to continue along with my production line, which has been doing pretty well for me, expand upon that, maybe bring in a couple other people to help me speed up the production from that. Once that's going, I want to expand, and I do want to get into more furnace work. I want to do larger installations, things like that. So I will always be a pipe maker. Always. I love pipes. I always say the craftsman versus artist argument, I always say that the artistry in what I do comes in my process, not so much the finished product. There's art in balancing form and function, and it is the function that truly captivates me about what we do. The fact that we can make a piece of art that is also functional, that also serves a purpose, that is what really draws the connection, I feel, between our supporters and what we make. People are attached to what we make. It truly brings them joy. And that joy stems from the physical use of the object. So to answer your question, I guess I will always make pipes. I will always love to make functional stuff, but I will jump at any opportunity I can to branch out into any other market, or even medium. I wouldn't pass up. I took some ceramics classes in college and stuff, and I wouldn't turn my nose up at the chance to sit at a potter's wheel too. But if I sit at a potter's wheel, chances are I'm probably gonna end up making a bong out of it. That's just me, right? So yeah, I'll always make pipes, always.
Hell yeah! My first rule I was ever given in my college ceramics classes was no bongs and no ashtrays.
Oh, my ceramics teacher got so mad at me for carving notches into a steely. I made this ceramic steely, and then at the very end carved 2 notches in it for an ashtray, and she was so mad she failed me. She loved that steely. She was so pumped on it, and then she said I ruined it.
Interesting. I remember making a teapot that had like butterflies on it, and it was in my brain. I was like, "This is gonna be a pipe, like a water pipe." And so, like on the spout of it, I forget how I made the thing work functionally wise, but I had to make a couple extra things that were like plugs to fill in those holes, so they didn't know it was a pipe.
Nice.
Kind of
thing.
Yeah. Type of deal. But my teacher still knew because I was her TA, so whatever.
Of course, your teacher knew. You think you were the first person to try it?
Yeah, exactly. Hell yeah, dude. Well, I think it's a good place for us to take a quick break and thank some sponsors.
Yeah,
and then we'll come back and be time for us to crash the kiln.
Sounds good.
This episode of A Glassblower's Companion is brought to you by The Flow Magazine. The Flow Magazine has gone digital. If you are a subscriber or would like to become one, The Flow Magazine is now available in digital form. You will still enjoy relatable articles and tutorials contributed by some of the best artists in the glass community. If you prefer to have a paper copy, The Flow also offers a limited number of print-on-demand copies that you can then hold in your fingertips. These are available while supplies last, and please allow 3 to 4 weeks for delivery. For more information on how you can subscribe, as well as find a complete list of available webinars and ways you can contribute to the magazine, just visit theflowmagazine.com. That's theflowmagazine.com. All right, we're back. So the Crash and the Cone round consists of 7 questions, I think.
All right.
It's doing this for a long time and should know by now, but you can give me a 30 to 60-second answer and expound upon them as always. And the first question I always like to ask is if there's any living glass artists out there that you want to collab or work with and have not yet done that. Who is it and why?
Oh, it'd be a shorter list to list off the people that I don't want to collaborate with. I love working with every single person that I can. I have learned something from every single person I've ever worked next to or with, whether it was their first day on the torch or they were an OG. Just the way people look at things are different. I can't do everything. I can't think of everything in the same way. So that being said, it took everything I had to not ask Scott Deppy if he wanted to collab during the Q&A. Right. Scott Deppy has always been one of my absolute heroes in the glass scene. Hearing him talk and seeing him as a human, real human being just solidified that in my head. It just solidified his character to me. So I'd have to go with Scott if there was anyone living glass artist I'd like to collaborate with. Other than that, if I had to pick another one, and it just so happened that she did last year's Q&A, it would probably be Sue Ellen, just because of what she has given to our community, Yeah.
So. Hell yeah. Yeah, it was with the Deppy thing, it was really awesome to see how transparent he was willing to be and how humble he is.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
at the same time.
It was inspiring.
And not afraid to say it how it is also.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved his response to the Chinese cobalt question.
Yeah,
that
same
was
here.
Just well said, sir.
Yeah. I was and the Red Max comment too.
Yeah.
We did a little pre-interview kind of huddle upstairs, and Shobo asked him that question, and Scott's like, get a different torch, and I was like, what about the Red Max Mafia out there?
Yeah.
Watch out, Deppy.
Yup. Hey, I worked on a Red Max for a while. If it was the only torch I had, I'd still use it.
Yeah, man. It's a versatile torch for what it is. It takes a long time to work with it sometimes, but yeah. It's like my minor bench burner that I had. Whatever.
Yeah, workhorses, man.
Yeah, we all can't afford to jump into a. Yeah, exactly, and we can't all afford to just jump into a fucking GTT or a Bethlehem or something like that.
I'd see. I started with Red Max. I moved on to Carlisle CC. I went from a Carlisle down to a Cheetah. That was my first GTT, and then from the Cheetah to the Phantom, and I still work on the same Phantom. So nice. Still have the little guy.
Hell yeah. Question number 2: what are your top 5 favorite colors in glass? I already know one of them.
Yeah, you already know amber purple, just because of its versatility, and it just captivates me. It'll be different every time. Yeah, I can use the exact same flame. That a lot of it comes down to my inability to be consistent with it, but I can use the same flame and do the same thing and get multiple different pieces. I really like experimental green for the same reasons. I'm a big fan of striking colors. I'm an old school lover of the glass, so OG Moss is going to be on that list without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. I got a small stick of that from the original batch.
I got 3 sticks that I've been holding on to for probably like 12 years now, and I barely touched them. So that's 3. Can I pick a group of colors instead of a single?
Yeah.
because I'd throw the CFL color shifting thing in the mix with that, because I really love the way you can take a pipe outside and it looks completely different from when you're inside under your fluorescent lighting and stuff like that. I don't hate UV glass. Black light glass is great, but not everybody has a black light in their pocket. So I like that you get that dynamic effect without having to have a light. You just move it around. It's a different piece.
It's fucking magical, dude. Like I remember before I even like worked with any of it, and I was working over at Disney making these. I was making flowers for a while, and using the Chinese purple amethyst. And I went downstairs to our basement, which the lighting's different, and I'm like looking for it, and I couldn't find it because it was in a different lighting, so it was like blue, or the light grayish blue,
ice blue.
And I'm like walking up the stairs, and I had the rods in my hand, and as I'm coming from the downstairs to upstairs, and I got into a different lighting, and all of a sudden I'm like watching this slowly turn purple in my hand, and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah, like, what the hell? I was wearing a Scott Baker pendant actually at a show here in Buffalo. I can't remember who was playing, but I'd partaken in some mind-altering substances. And I went outside to smoke, and I knew that I was wearing a bright purple pendant. And I went outside, and I was with a bunch of people that didn't know me, and I didn't know them. And I'm standing under a halogen light, and I look down, and my pendant is ice blue. And I'm like, what just happened? And I'm telling these guys, and I'm like, this pendant's purple. And they're like, all right, you Spunion, get the hell out of here. What are you talking about? I'm like, I swear this pendant's purple. Like, I swear to God. I was like, it was purple right before. Nobody even believed me. They're like, your pendant's blue. What are you talking about? And then we went inside and it shifted. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. And yeah, that blew my mind. I knew about CFL colors at that point, but Braid didn't, I guess, at that point. But
yeah, and I understand the concept and the science that goes into why that happens, but at the same time, it's like some fucking magical shit, man. Like I still don't understand it. It's just so crazy.
I get how, I don't get why. Like I get how it happens. I don't really get why it happens, but it does.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Yeah, I think too. Like on a side note with Las Vegas, I brought a couple pieces with me that were CFL, and the lighting in there was terrible. You couldn't really get it to shift unless you had like a box that you could like put it in and have it, some kind of light to use. So, which is a little frustrating, but it's something to think about for people that are bringing CFL shifty stuff to like, how can you establish yourself in this booth set up to make it change?
I've always wanted a light that would like shift between the two. You don't have the piece kind of spinning and then one color, the other color, that kind of thing. I always thought that would be really cool, but.
Yeah. So I bought a light box, which like we talked pre-show about recording this video, and the light box has the bright white spectrum in it, and also has like the yellow spectrum. Yeah. So with that light, I can actually use that to shift. But it's a big light box. So I want to find something smaller because like with one of my characters I make, initially I wanted to make him with that purple amethyst, and on the scale I was making it, it just kept cracking on me. It was fucking frustrating, so I just went to clear. But the goal was to have him in that color so that we can have a display set up with what you're saying, have two different lights that he could like shift on stage, and people could see how magical it was. But that was just a thought in my brain that would be cool to eventually to have a box that does that.
Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. I just bought this ring light a couple of days ago, and it has like the cool to hot light shift, but it won't shift the colors at all. That was like the first thing I did. I held up a piece in front of it and shifted the colors, and it just kind of got a little darker. But
did you turn all your lights off in your shop and just use that light?
No, I didn't. Maybe I'll try that. I'll give that another shot.
Yeah, do that, because you'll be amazed by how your other lighting will affect it. Because like when I was making this, I was using Seriously, I guess it was. And holding it in my hand, it was, it's fun, right? And I was holding it in my hand, like I'm holding it, and I'm like looking at this color, and I'm getting the light from above my head, which is like the LED bright light, and then behind me is the the fluorescent. Mm-hmm. So like this rod is like, the whole rod was, depending on the angle, it was shifting from the greens to purples and blues all in one rod. It was pretty wild, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I realized it was because I had these two different lights that are just kind of blending into my space.
Sure, we don't really think about it, because it's all just light. We don't really think about the range that we're under.
Yeah,
but
yeah, exactly.
I have a bulb above my torch or I have a fluorescent above the kiln, and then a regular bulb above my torch, or I think it's LED or something. So if I put down a stick of serum on my bench, you'll see one end's yellow, the other end's pink. And it's just
okay, yeah.
I kind of just back and forth, But
yeah, it's neat. Hell yeah. So
So
completely
that was
side
four
rail there.
colors. Sorry,
Yeah.
that was four colors. Can I use silver or silver and gold as the last?
Oh yeah, totally. That counts.
All right, then I have to say number 5 would be just fume. That'd be my
Hell
other
yeah.
favorite color. If I
Nice.
ever if I ever had nothing else to do, I would always just have clear glass, and I currently have enough silver in my possession to where I won't ever have to purchase silver again if I want to. So if I need to, I can survive off clear glass and silver fume and gold fume for the rest of my life.
Hell yeah, dude. I've had a coin for probably 4 years now
Yeah.
that I've been working on.
Yep.
It's
I've
nice.
gone through a few of them over the years. I remember buying silver in 2012 when it was like $50 an ounce.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I knew it was worth it even then. That $50, I'd
Yeah.
make that back off one little nip.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I haven't fumed much anymore, but every once in a while I can make my little wise guy hand pipes, and I do one of the lines I do is a fume spoon.
Right on.
Number 3 is, what is your worst injury in the studio?
Probably roasting my thumb doing an inside out pipe on a Red Max. I lost feeling in my thumb for about 8 to 10 months. Back of my thumb, couldn't feel anything after it finally healed. I was, up in the flame and glanced over at something and moved my hand over and roasted it. I was melting the pipe in, or I was melting everything in. I was melting the flare down. So it was full blast, big flame, Red Max. That was probably my worst glass injury. I've been fortunate enough to not have to suffer any like possible career enders. Knock on wood. Thanks. Thank you. People always ask me if I'd rather get cut or burned, and I always tell them I'd rather get cut any day. A glass cut over a glass burn, or worse is a graphite burn. Graphite burns hurt forever. They don't
Yeah, I
stop
say the same
hurting,
thing.
man.
I would compare a graphite burn to a sugar burn, like getting hot sugar on your skin, because it gets into your pores. And
I
graphite's
don't
the
think
same
I've
way.
ever
It's such a fine
experienced that
thing.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't sound fun.
So, no, not at all. When you're in the studio working, do you watch TV, listen to the radio, or both?
Music, and only recently, last couple of years, podcasts.
Cool.
I'll put ears on every once in a while. I just recently started listening to like true crime podcasts. I've never been into that at all, like true crime stories or horror movies or anything like that. But like, I find it really interesting, so I've been listening to that. But mostly music. I'll go between usually jam music, folk punk, and hip hop, and a lot of times all in the same day too. I just switch it up.
Yeah.
Pretty much anything that'll keep me moving. Something I can dance around to. I stand when I blow glass. I can't sit, so I'm just always bouncing around and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
just any sort of music that'll keep me moving. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Do you have a mat that you stand on when you're working?
Yeah, I have a floor mat. I need a new one. I'm looking at it right now. I need a new one bad. But I also I went and got the puzzle piece floor mats. You know what I'm talking about? People use them for like exercise rooms. They sell them at Harbor Freight. I lined my entire studio floor with them, and it has saved so many pieces. Pieces will fall off the blow tube or whatever. And whatever this material is made out of wipes right off the glass. Doesn't leave anything cooked into it. If a hot piece of glass falls on my floor mat that's right behind my torch, it'll cook it and it'll leave that nasty white soot. But the Harbor Freight floor mats, it'll burn in black stuff all over it. I put it in the kiln for a couple of minutes, pull it out, and it wipes right off. And it saved so many pieces. So.
Interesting. Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
Yeah.
I have like an anti-fatigue mat that's got like I don't even know what the material is on the surface, but it's basically burn resistant. Like I've dropped like liquid hot marbles and stuff on it, and it left like a small mark on the surface, but didn't burn into it.
Really?
And nothing. Yeah, it's nice. And the ends are tapered down, flat, flush to the floor, so you can overlap them if you wanted to, make them longer, wider space around you.
Oh, cool. Send me the link.
Yeah.
I'd like to check it out. Like I said, I need
sure.
a new floor mat. I'd love to see what you're working with.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, they're great. You can get them on Amazon. They're like, I think it's like $30 or something like that.
Dope.
And Yeah, the only issue I had was the old studio I used to rent space at. We had rats, and I'd come in the morning sometimes and find the corners chewed off on it.
Oh, really?
So fucking annoying, yeah.
Huh. Wonder what it was made
Yeah, it was
out of
very.
if the rats would chew on it.
I know, right? It was so weird
Yeah, that's
that
weird.
they can get those chompers and those teeth through that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very
yeah.
strange.
Crazy.
So, next question. If you could describe the sound of glass cracking in one word, whether a physical sensation that you feel or the actual sound that it makes, what would it be?
Um, the sound I've always just described as thonk. And it's not really a thunk or a thud. It's more of a thonk. But that's more of
Hmm.
the deep crack, you know?
Yeah, the ones that are just, you're fucked. Or the sound of a
Yeah,
bridge cracking.
yeah.
It's the worst.
God, I hear it in my nightmares, but I can't really, I can't really vocalize it. For me, it would just be fuck, that's about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'll go with thonk.
Hell yeah.
That's
My favorite so far answer was Steve Sizelove. His answer was, it's the art of non-attachment.
okay. All right. I like that. That's an interesting answer.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, oh, that's a good philosophy to live by. Because it's so easy
Yeah.
to just like to, you put your heart and soul into everything you make, and then it breaks, and you're like heartbroken. And I've had that happen so many times. And after I'd interviewed him, and I haven't had that issue since. I still get frustrated,
Yeah.
but my heart doesn't hurt as much anymore.
Right. Right. I worked with somebody who would smash things against the wall for a while. And I kind of vowed to not ever do that. So like when
Hmm.
something breaks, I try to calmly step away. You know what I mean? I'll get frustrated, but I try not to get angry over it.
Yeah,
I like
I've
that.
had some times
The
where
pipe
like,
didn't
yeah.
break. I've mastered the art of unattachment or non-attachment.
Yeah, man.
That's cool.
There's been times where like I was so stressed out just trying to get bills paid, and then like it breaks and you're like, fuck. And I would just
Mhm.
smash it on my table and then like break other things in the process, like a stupid fuck, And I had to learn not to do that.
Yep.
What really taught me not to do that was one day I was making something, and I had just raked my backyard of all these oak leaves and had this huge pile, and like a dumbass, I threw it out in my backyard, and it
Oh,
landed in that pile of leaves, and it just immediately like combusted into this massive, small fire in my backyard, I should say, really. And I was like,
wow.
yeah, that's immediate, instant karma, and also lesson learned at the same time, and just to take a deep breath and go for a walk.
Yeah. I smashed a piece down on the bench one time and broke my brand new reamer right in half. Brand
Oh
new,
God,
perfect pointy tip, gone. It's a bull push now, you know. And ever since then, I
yeah,
tried not to do that.
interesting. Yeah, that sucks.
We don't really. It doesn't do us any favors, freaking out. If you're gonna freak out that bad, walk away. Just walk away from the
Hmm.
studio. Go for a walk. Leave for the day. Leave for an hour. Whatever. Go play some video games or do what you got to do. I feel like part of the reason that we do what we do is the ability to be able to walk away. Even though,
Yeah.
like we said, my boss is an asshole and doesn't necessarily want me to, but we have
Hmm.
to, just walk away.
Yeah, that's why I said at the talk with Deputy, is like, to those who are there, like, it's so important to get the fuck out of your studio.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked what
Yeah,
he said about spending a couple hours with himself in the morning.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I do
I
the
thought that
same
was
thing.
huge.
I didn't really ever realize that that's what I was doing because, I'm not meditating, right? I'm not sitting there going, but it's
Hmm.
it's meditative. That's when I started actively trying to discipline myself and started waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. My girl wouldn't get up until 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and I'd have a couple hours, have some coffee, hang out with the dog, all that, and realize that that's very valuable. That time
Hmm.
to yourself and with yourself, allows you to clear your head and get ready for the day. And it's really
Yeah,
important for us to
absolutely.
be in the right mindset to do what we do. So it's important.
Yeah, yeah, completely. And I've said that in every relationship I've had. Like, I'm so fucking pissed off right now, and I'm gonna go to the studio all pissed off because you're a fucking bitch and you're causing me to feel this way. And then I would sit there and think, I'm actually causing myself to feel
Yep.
this way.
Yep. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But then I go and then go to the studio, and then still all pissed off, and then fucking break everything I make.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've done that many
Stupid
times,
shit.
especially being in a position of, being a production slash, whatever, functioning full-time professional glass artist, it's tough, trying to get those bills paid, and things aren't going right, which makes you frustrated, and you're frustrated, so things don't go right, and it just snowballs. And that's when it gets really hard to just step away. Something will break, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't leave. I have to stay here until 4:00 in the morning and try to get shit done. And then that throws off the next day and the next day, and it snowballs. So mindset is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like early on, we were saying about the podcasting and stuff, like I was making my commutes to work. I had like an hour and a half drive one way, every day pretty much. So I started finding podcasts and stuff. And a lot of the business ones I listened to, a lot of the guys that were super successful were getting up at 5 a.m. And they said because between like 5 and 8 in the morning, they would get more shit done in those 3 hours than most people got done in an entire day because of that. Like, everybody else is sleeping and shit. And then I found somebody out there, one of the shows I listened to started an app called the 5 a.m. Club that you can check in at 5 a.m. And so I started doing that early before I started working at Disney. And it was cool to go on there at 5 a.m. and seeing people in different areas of the world that had checked in at their 5 a.m., on a regular basis. And they would give you like a counter on how consistent you were at clocking in. And it was pretty neat to see it, and kind of gives your own little sense of integrity, and staying on top of it.
Yeah. And it gives you like something you can look at and see like progress, and like I've accomplished something, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
I talk to a lot of people out on the West Coast, and I have friends out there that are up late and everything. So I'll get up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're still up hanging out, and I'll hit them up and chat with them, and they're just getting ready to go to bed. I'm just waking up, but it's some of the only times I'll be able to chat with them, really, because our schedules don't line up otherwise, so it's kind of neat,
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Especially people that are like international and the real crazy time zones.
Yeah. I, like you said about getting more done between, 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. or whatever, 5 and 8 a.m. I'm the same way. I used to be a lot more late night kind of person. I quit drinking a few years ago, which helped my shift into getting up early. But
nice,
I looked at it as though I'm still putting in the same amount of hours every day. What difference does it make if I do that in the evening or in the morning? And I started getting up in the morning, and turned out I'm a morning person, and I get so much more done. If I can get in the studio by 8 o'clock in the morning, I'll have more done by noon than I used to get done in a week, and it's just so much more productive. It's insane.
I used to love that shift. Like the 7 a.m. to noon, and then I would go to the beach for a couple hours or hang out with the kids, and then maybe go back for a couple more hours at night and do some prep for the next day.
Yeah, I'll leave, go take the dog for a walk or something like that. But I don't think I introduced the dog. He's being super, super chill over here. Hi, Eddie. This is Eddie.
He's cutie.
Yeah, that's my best friend right there.
His little sweater.
Yeah. Man. I'm surprised
keeping him warm.
Popped in. Oh yeah, for sure. I have the heater, the propane heater points towards him. He lays on an electric blanket. He's got his blanket. I'm over there by the torch freezing, layered up. He's all over here warm. So,
Have you thought about getting a heated mat for yourself to stand on?
I've looked into it. I just never made the purchase. I just haven't done it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've asked a lot of glass blowers that work in your kind of environment, like, how do you survive? And they all say a heated mat because it keeps your feet nice and warm, which is, the one thing that you lose all the heat from.
Yeah, I have this pair of giant ice fishing boots. I don't ice fish. I just happen to have ice fishing boots. They're like 3 times as big as my regular boots, but my feet stay toasty all day, and it allows me to work.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I can work in like 10, 15 degrees. As long as the dog stays warm, I'm all right,
Hell yeah.
You learn a lot about heat base working in that kind of environment.
Yeah, totally. And that's funny too. They say that, like, that was one of the things that Deppy talked about, was like keeping things from cracking. It's like, because your glass isn't hot enough, or your glass is cold, kind of thing.
That was super cool. Yeah, that was interesting when he said that. There's only one reason glass breaks. It's because it's not hot enough. I was really shocked because I thought that, like, not that what he said wasn't wise, not that what he said wasn't truthful, but I expected him to have a far more in-depth answer to that. Like, yeah, of course I know it could have happened from this, or it could have happened from that, or there's this reason, or there's that reason. And when he came out with that, I was like, oh, wow, that's very insightful. I like that.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Because if you have a shitty weld, even if it's hot, it ain't going to crack on you.
It can't break if it's hot enough. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool.
Glass is
Yeah,
a
it was
wild
super
medium.
cool. Yeah, definitely. I always tell people at work, the guests coming in, like, it's just a weird material. It's fun to
Yeah.
play with, but it's some weird stuff.
Yes, it is.
So,
Yeah.
next question is: do you have any glass blowing themed tattoos?
Not yet. I only have 3 tattoos, 2 of which were glass trades that I get, made pipes for friends of mine that do some nice work. I have part of my history of being wishy-washy and being on the fence about things. I've never been able to lock down a concept or an artist to do it, because in my head, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be the right thing. And so I eventually plan on it, because again, this is my life. This is what I love to do. I just haven't found the right glass tattoo yet. I do have a friend who owns California Dreamin'. His name's Dominic, and he has an entire Jason Lee inspired sleeve. It's beautiful.
Wow.
He's got there's a wigwag with a bowl hole in the middle and shit, because he literally he showed his tattoo artist pictures of a bunch of Lebo's work and stuff, and it's beautiful, man. It's cool. If you go in the Lebo groups on Facebook, his pictures of his sleeves are on there. I've seen him. I think Jason shared it a couple of times, but yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I think it's pretty. It's an honor as an artist to have someone else put your glass work, sculptural work, in a tattoo for you. That's pretty cool.
I couldn't imagine, man. It still blows my mind sometimes that people want to spend their hard-earned dollars on the stuff that I make. It's like, it's humbling, but I'm like, holy shit, it's crazy. So to have somebody tattoo that on their body for the rest of their life, that's got to be a crazy, crazy honor,
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Super cool. The last question is your top 5 favorite tools. And that does not include your torch or your glasses or your kiln.
Okay.
Your hand torch could count, but not your main torch.
I feel like I can answer this one pretty well, because I worked with such minimal tools for a long time. I could show you some pieces that I made back in the day with no hand torch, no blow hose, just a bull push, a reamer, and a bench burner. I used to make fab eggs with nothing but a Red Max. Or no, I think I was on the Cheetah at that point. And just, bull push to push donut holes in there and pop the holes in the flame and all that. So I'd have to say my favorite tool lately is going to be my Mike Close marble mold. The Mike Close mold is insane. It feels like a cheat code. I swear to God, it makes the marbles for me. I never really used many molds before I got that one, but I swear I can put a lump of glass in that thing and spin it around, and all of a sudden it's a perfect marble. My buddy Peter, did you do an interview with Strange I Am at one point? Yeah, that's my good friend Peter. He bought the marble mold for me. He gave it to me as a gift, and I always I'll send him pictures of a marble sitting in there, and I'll be like, man, I left a pile of frit in the Mike Close mold last night, and I came in this morning and it was a marble. I don't know what happened. So other than that, hold on a second. Let me go grab it for a second.
Yeah.
This thing right here is from Blast Shield. And this was the most useful tool that I never knew that I needed. And it is just a non-octagonal, tiny, stubby reamer. And this thing is invaluable for finishing off holes when I'm prepping seals. If I'm going to seal two things together. Gives it that final perfect rounding that, an octagon reamer might not always be perfectly round. It allows me to get an idea of how big my hole is. I prepped up the last hole. I know it was about halfway up here, next one. The other thing is when I'm trying to, say you pop a hole on the back of a flat disc, right? And you need to pop a second hole, so you got to plug that hole, but your reamer hits the other side wall. So you can't plug the hole. This thing fills that gap. This little reamer, I swear to God, I bought this a couple of years ago, and it was one of the most useful tools that I never knew that I needed.
Hell yeah. What's the width of the base of that thing? Is it 18 mil or something like that?
It's a little bigger, probably about 25. I'd say probably about 1 inch at the base and tapers
That's
down.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, probably about 25 mil.
Gnarly.
So my don't know what's going on with this camera. I don't know why it's not doing that before. My pencil reamer, my little bitty pencil
Yeah,
reamer from
literally a pencil
Firebug.
reamer.
Yeah, it's a
It's
Ticonderoga, man.
hilarious.
I bought this
I've never
thing.
seen that.
Firebug Tools makes it. I bought it as a novelty, and it has been living on my bench. Let's see, here's my bench right here. It literally
Okay.
lives in a pencil holder right next to my torch, and it's
That's amazing.
always there. So these three
Smart.
tools right here probably have to be on that list because these are always just right here. My little tweezers, my tiny paddle also from Firebug. The other tool, again from Firebug, has got to be this reamer with a flat spot on it.
Oh, wild.
And this thing is also fantastic for mouthpieces, seals, all that. I love this tool. So I guess
So what does that flat side do? Like,
so when you're flaring out your hole or whatever, and then it'll come out like a little bit off center or whatever.
oh, you can just have that right in your hand. Okay.
Yeah, I used to
Totally.
I'd pick this one up and I'd flare it out and then I'd set it down and then I'd have to pick up my little paddle and doop, tap the end to make sure it's nice and flat. This one I can just ream my hole out and boom, it's right there. Kind of like the Darby reamers, right?
Yep.
Really,
yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, similar to the Darby reamers, but just a slightly different style. He posted those as kind of like he did I think it was just like a one-off thing. He only made a couple of them. I thought it was really cool, so I ordered it. And yeah, those are probably my favorite tools. So just various graphite things.
Hell yeah.
I don't have much aside from torches, graphite, kilns, that kind of stuff. I'd like to buy a set of taffy rollers. Probably.
He's actually teaching a class at our studio this weekend.
Is he? I didn't know that was at your shop. I saw that he was teaching a class. I would love to.
Yeah.
I got to meet Taffy at a Flame Off a few years back. Super nice guy. Great.
Yeah,
great
I'm gonna get him on
being.
the show here.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good dude for sure. Yeah, the couple of guys in the studio uses rollers, and I've jumped on them before, and it's not anything I've ever thought about using until I actually, like you're saying, like you didn't know you needed it until you used it, kind of thing, type of thing. And same with a Bunsen burner. Like I really don't use a Bunsen burner that much, but having access to that now with the guys I work with, it's definitely making me want to get my own. But the rollers are killer, man, because he has all these little different like gadgets and attachments that go onto him that will like lock your blowpipe onto it, so you can put a lot of weight and not worry about things popping off of it. And
he's got the little shield that comes
smooth
up and like blocks it and everything, keep your hand from getting burned. Yeah, it's wild. I like the set that he makes. It's like a lathe kind of with the rails and all that.
Yeah, it kind of slides and shit.
Yeah, that's super cool. I have a similar set of tooling rollers that I use, and they just sit off to the left of my bench for straightening blow tubes and stuff. And I thought it was really funny when Taffy posted a thing about that class, and he was like, "Learn how to use your rollers for more than just straightening blow tubes." And I was like, "Shit, he's talking about me." Guilty.
That's hilarious. A couple of guys that I see at the studio that use them, they definitely use them for getting their blowpipe straightened out.
Oh, I don't think I ever met center until I started using a set of tooling rollers. I'd always get it close, but to be able to set that down and then hold essentially, I got my point on the handle with the punny, and say I want to center that punny, I can put the punny right on the rollers, and then as I'm spinning that point, I can move that horizontal plane up and down, and I can just pop it right into center, and it's a game changer. It really was.
Yeah, it's amazing. One thing I was when I first started doing furnace work, the guy Charlie that got me started, when I go to put my punny on the back, he was telling me, he's like, it's probably gonna be really easy for you to put a punny on center because I'm so used to attaching punnies on center by hand, on the torch. And sure as shit, dude, I was able to go around in there and just put it right on there perfectly the first time on center. But like you're saying, it's amazing when it's not, even if it's like a millimeter off, it throws the entire thing off.
It's once you find it, once you find that center, that tiny little bit of a kick will throw everything off. And it was amazing how many things came out so much cleaner that I didn't even expect. Like when I'd be condensing the middle of a spoon or something and it would just get a little off center. And I used to like blame it on all sorts of different shit. I'd be like, oh, this tubing must have been off, or there's something weird about this color, or yada, yada. And looking back on it, no, it was just me being off whack, out of whack on the blow tube. And if you're trying to melt things like this, it's going to do that eventually, so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's a game changer.
Hell yeah,
for
man.
sure.
Yeah, big time. And I think like the minimal side of the things with tools, because I know some cats out there, like they'll have like toolboxes of gadgets and tools and different fun things, which is, whatever, it's cool. But I'm the same way. Like I'm very minimal. Like for the longest time, it was just my graphite tools and my torch, and gravity,
I was always taught that if you learn a technique just with a certain tool, you're only going to be able to do it with that tool. But if you learn the technique without the tool, once you get that tool, it'll make your life a million times easier. So I always try to stress to people the importance of learning things without the fancy tools at first. Do it without the hand torch. Do it without a blow hose. I worked without a hand torch and without a blow hose for 10, 12 years before I ever got any of that, But once I did, it was a game changer, and I was really thankful for the fundamentals and the skills that I had built up before I ever touched those tools. Because tools can become a crutch, and I talk to a lot of guys who are on either side of it. Some people are adamant that you need to buy the tools, and some people are adamant that you can't use the tools and you gotta do it the hard way. And I feel like there's a lot more of a middle ground there. There's nothing wrong with using the tools, but understand that you are trying to learn how to utilize that tool. You're not trying to learn how to make that tool do the thing you want it to do. You're not going to buy a tool that's going to allow you to make a bubbler. You're going to learn how to use those tools to make bubblers, if that makes sense.
Totally. Oh, no, totally. Because I look back at like the thousands of slides that I've made over the years, like the push bowl slides without a blow hose and having to like look through the glass to see the heat on the base where I wanted to pop the hole. And if it's not center,
and looking down, down at the flame. Yep.
Yeah, dude, and if you're not on center, that little heat dot is going to move around in a circle compared to where if it's centered, it just stays in one place.
Right.
And that really taught me a lot about. I mean, like you're saying, like popping a hole in a can to push a drop a down stem in there, it was the same fucking thing.
Yep.
If you have a blow hose on there, you can look at it and see what's going on, but having that skill set to know how to do it without it, because you understand with the fundamentals of what's going on with the glass. It's night and day difference in terms of your skill set that you learn, and which then carries on to everything else that you do. It's huge. Sorry.
You there?
You cutting out?
Yeah, no, somebody tried to call me. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. No problem.
I'm surprised it took this long. But yeah, okay. Definitely learning to just do it with just flame and basic materials and basic tools. Absolutely. It's invaluable how much you can learn from that. It's muscle memory, Oh
yeah, totally. I consider it like caveman glass blowing, using flint to light your torch with kind of thing,
Right. I mean, I appreciate every little tool. I never had like wealthy family or anything like that was able to buy me, and no hate towards anybody that does, but every tool that I feel like I've earned, you know what I mean? And I'm proud to use it now. I'm proud to have that tool. So especially coming from sitting on a bucket with a map gas torch between my legs, making, with coat hanger rods and shit, so now I look at every tool and I'm like, all right, I deserve this tool. I've earned it, and it's a good feeling.
Hell yeah. Yeah, man, that's killer. Well, I think it's a good place for us to wrap this up here. And yeah, I mean, yeah, it's good talk, dude. I think it's a lot of takeaways for a lot of people, because it's not just about, going from A to Z. You got to have the struggles and the journey in between all of it. It's like the whole idea of it ain't about the destination, it's about the journey to get there. And it seems like you've learned a lot from your process.
I like to think so. I like to think so, right?
I think so, man. Your work speaks for it.
I appreciate that. I think there's always a lot more to learn, and that's what keeps me at this.
But yeah, dude, I appreciate you coming on the show and taking your time out and being the first interview after Las Vegas. I'm stoked to get the show going back up again. It's been about 6 months. Like I've had an interview recently with Ginger talking about business stuff, which is going to be a main focus this year. But I'm stoked to get this back into a consistency, like every other week in a sense, type of things. I'm also going to do video YouTube stuff in between the weeks. And I'm pretty stoked, man. I'm excited about where things are going. Las Vegas definitely got me back on the mindset of how much I love what I do, And like I said, got rid of that chip on my shoulder too, which I think helped kind of steer my brain in the direction to get back to being like, I don't need to be motivated per se. I just do what I do because I love it. Same, like we talked about with the glass and stuff. And this podcast has been one of those things where I started to do it because I wanted to help the younger glass blowers. And then I've been, over the years, other glass blowers that have been doing this for 10, 15, 20 years have reached out and said how much they enjoy the show and the stuff that they're learning from the younger generations of glass blowers like yourself. Like, you're probably like a second, third generation in the industry in a sense. Like I look back at like the
third.
Okay.
Yeah, third generation.
It makes sense.
Yeah, we have like the OGs, Snotty and that crew, right? And then you got like Deppy and that crew, and then they started posting it on the internet and brought in my generation. So I always said I was like kind of third wave. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like I'm like second generation Snodgrass, like the guy that I learned from somebody who learned directly from Snodgrass.
Sure,
kind of thing.
sure.
So I guess third generation, I guess I'd be. But
right.
Yeah, man, and it's and we have the Revere generation, and they had the degenerate art generation that came out. So it's interesting to see all the different levels of skills out there and where things are going. So you seem like you've kind of accumulated all this influence from around yourself and put it into your work. And you sent me some great shots. And that being said, before we let you go, if you want to give some parting piece of advice, and then where we can find you out there in cyberspace.
So yeah, parting advice: never, ever stop learning. Don't do yourself the disservice of ever thinking that what you made is perfect. That's the best bit of advice I can ever give somebody. The second you tell yourself that you've mastered this, you stop learning and you stop progressing. So that would be my bit of advice: is no matter how far you progress, always keep in mind that you can always be better. I've never made a perfect piece ever. And I always tell people that I hope I never do, because that piece, even if I did make a perfect piece, that piece wouldn't be perfect. It would just be me telling myself that it's perfect. And that would be a disservice to my own knowledge, my own growth as an artist and as a human being. So yeah, that's my words of wisdom, I guess. Always seek knowledge anytime you can from everybody that you can. You can learn something from any single person you cross in this world, whether they're a glass blower or not. That can leak into your everyday life. Just never ever stop learning. Always be growing, always be evolving.
Yeah, I've always said, those like yourself, those of us that have grown up as glass blowers, like I started in my 22 years old, and now I'm 45. So same way, like half my life I've done this, and it's like I've learned lessons in life, and I've learned lessons in glass, and it's all coincides with itself. Like I've learned so much from glass, and being on center is the most important thing that I've learned.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Both in life and in glass, right?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Fantastic. So yeah, you can find me
cyberspace.
Aaron B. Glass. Just how my name's spelled: AARONB. Aaron B. Glass. Aaron Glass on Facebook. I have aaronbglass.com that I'm getting ready. It's technically launched already, but I haven't advertised it. But aaronbglass.com, and
awesome. That's
about it. I try to stay. I'm there. I answer DMs. I love to talk to anybody and anybody who wants to chat. I don't ignore DMs, shit like that. So yeah, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, Aaron B. Glass, I'm always around.
Where'd the hash brown come from?
So that was just like my last name is Brown. So my name's Aaron Brown. That's where the B comes from. And it was just a silly nickname that kind of, I was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to put it on the bio, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's great. Dude, run with it.
Yeah. Why not? Why not? There's another artist that goes by Hash Browns. So I didn't want to switch my name and step on somebody else's thing. You know what I mean? So I just figured I'd put it in there. But no, I just go by Aaron B.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Like I said, at one point that was kind of like I felt like I was puffing out my chest, like I'm gonna be cool. I'm just gonna use my real name. I'm not hiding from anybody,
Yeah.
That was
hell yeah. It's important. Establish yourself as an artist name, and then that could become your brand also.
Right. It's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hell yeah, Aaron. I appreciate you coming on again, and like I said, hang on after the show. We'll say our goodbyes off the air here.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Yeah, dude, it's a pleasure getting to see you in person. I remember seeing you in the audience too, so it's stoked to have you on here. And thanks again for attending that show and talking to Shelbo. And then here we are chit chatting, and
yeah, man.
Hopefully we can get together one of these days and work some glass together. Look forward to it.
I'd love to, man. Anytime. If you're ever in Buffalo, man, I got an extra bench spot.
Hell yeah! And if you ever come down to Florida and want to, melt some glass in the hot ass state of Florida and go do a little trip around Disney too, let me know.
Hell yeah! There's about half the year every year where I want nothing more than to go to Florida. So
like right now,
hit you up one of these winters. Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah! Well, I'll have all of his links on for you guys to check out his work on the Instagrams and the social medias and stuff. And again, you can find AaronBGlass.com. You said the website.
Yep, okay, AaronBGlass.com.
Awesome.
Just how it is.
Hell yeah. And I'll have that link in there so you all can check out his work. And if you want to purchase some of his stuff, definitely go check it out. And again, thanks so much for tuning in. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Happy melting out there. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a wise day. Peace.
Peace.